Zhou Changshui, a descendant of the first long-lived sect and the first to receive an immortal body in the world of immortals. When he was born, the sect was destroyed, and although his flesh perished, his immortal body survived. But it could only pass to the underworld and enter the cycle of rebirth. Changshui opened his eyes already an ordinary mortal trapped in the human world. After being reborn, he ended up in the royal family. But he was considered ugly at birth, and the royal family gave him up to save face. The child was rescued by a poor Taoist monk. He took him to the mountains and raised him there. But the great soothsayer warned him that he would not survive 19 years. This year he turned 17. The monk said that the young man has 2 years left. He should go and see the world, ordinary people. Zhou Chengshui's great-grandfather, one of the most respected in the celestial realm. He had built the 95 Blessings Gate to unite the immortal world. He hoped for eternal peace. Thousands of years later, his grandfather was born. To pass on the legacy, his great-grandfather named him Zhu Taisui, meaning heavenly longevity, so that he could long rule the realm of the celestials and keep it at peace. But our hero's grandfather had spent his entire life rubbing his pants and squandering the family's property. This caused the position of the 95 Blessings Gate in the immortal world to be shaken and the major sects to become independent. Hundreds more years later, his father was born, by which point his grandfather had come to regret his lifestyle, but it was too late. To be worthy of his ancestors, his grandfather named his father Zhu Wensui, hoping that he could lead their sect back to glory. At that time, the family had already lost its luster, and the strength was already incomparable to the past. Although his father fought desperately, he was helpless and could only watch the sect decline. Decades later, Zhu Changshui was born. As his father's desperate life was coming to an end, he knew there was nothing he could do to regain the 95 blessings. By naming his child this way, his father hoped that he would live a peaceful and long life without worries. Because this family had made too many enemies in the past, the young boy was destroyed by these enemies at an early age. Fortunately, his great-grandfather's golden body protected the young man. Therefore, the soul did not disappear, and for the same reason he went to hell, passed through, and entered the mortal world. Zhou Changshui was relaxing on the lawn and thought that it was very cool. The coolness of everything he had just said was very cool. The kids who listened to him asked, if he's so cool, why didn't he choose a good family when he was reborn? After all, he's not cheating by telling these stories, is he? The young man said he wasn't fooling anyone. Had they seen anyone who could speak immediately after birth? A little girl, one of the listeners, asked, isn't it ugly to talk right after birth? The young man agreed with the girl and said, that's why they threw him out, because they thought he was ugly. The children asked Zhu Changshui with interest, could he defeat the monsters that were near their village? The young man said that it was easy to defeat these monsters, but there was no point. So he suppressed them with his power to guide them in the future. Somewhere not far away, beyond the forest, a noise was heard. The young man jumped up from his seat and said, that sound is made by the monsters he has suppressed. They are raging again, and he must return to calm them down. He told the children that there would be no more stories for today, and they could leave. The village children saw the young man running away quickly in the direction from which the noise was coming. They thought the young man was very strong. A young man went to a house and knocked on the door. He said he had brought his teacher some lean food. The teacher opened the door and said that it was indeed a Lenten day. He said hello to the young man. Zhou Changshui said that the old man taught him Taoism for more than 10 years. Then he went into a monastery. So fasting, it was his destiny. The old man said it's all wrong. He professes Taoism and has been studying all his life despite his position. But the young man learned it all in 2 years, so he, as a teacher, is ashamed of such a student. The old man took food out of his bag and said that it was fortunate that he, as a teacher, had realized everything in time. It was not too late to turn to the Buddha. Zhou Changshui clarified, did the young man really turn 17 this year? The young man asked, what's the matter? Zhou Changshui asked the elder, didn't he believe in the Buddha? Why is he still guessing on his fingers? The old man told the young man to be quiet, because now he was counting on his fingers the time for the young man to return home. The young man smiled and said that the old man was probably now counting the days he had left to live. If the young man left now, the teacher would not even have food to eat. The teacher said that the young man had no respect for him at all. The old man recalled that the year he had brought the young man newborn, he had been very surprised by his Taoist roots. He was a consummate genius, but fate was so unfair that he would not be able to become great. The old man continued. Over the years, he had used up all the knowledge he could give the young man, and now his life was coming to an end. He would probably not live to see the day of the young man's calamity. Zhou Chengsui said thoughtfully that there were only 2 years left. The old man replied that it was a pity to waste 19 years of his life in isolation. So, in these last 2 years, the teacher suggested that the young man go and see the mortal world. A few days later, Zhou Chengsui packed his luggage, stood in the old courtyard, and looked at the small house where he had lived for 17 years. The teacher told the young man to go away and leave all regrets here. The young man said goodbye and told the teacher to take care of himself. Zhou Chengsui mentally told his father that he was returning, the ruling dynasty of Dahun, the first among the rest of the entire mainland. Ever since Emperor Zhou inherited the throne, only the descendants of this family became officials. Back then, the empire began to grow and strengthen. Everyone hoped that the Zhou clan would exist forever. In Zhuping Palace, Zhu Baichuan listened as a servant told His Highness that the necessary measures had already been taken. The man, continuing to go about his business, told the servant that he did not wish to discover the leakage of any papers. Baichuan told his son, Zhu Tianye, that he had already reached the 3rd level of the realm of primordial existence. The young man replied that he had broken through to the 3rd level of the realm of primordial existence a few days ago. Now the energy was bubbling within him like 1,000 seas. Father said it's not bad. He thinks his son will have no problem entering the Xuantian sect. Among the younger generation, the young man has no equal, but he shouldn't be arrogant. He knows that there are other young men who have reached the same level, so there is competition. Baichuan continued. A renowned sect master would choose the most worthy among the young men. The young man said one of the competitors, no more than 12 years old. Plus, this girl. The father told the son not to worry. He has some connections within the sect. As long as the young man will act as usual, becoming selected will not be a problem. The man told the son to come back and keep his mother company. After joining the cult, it would be difficult to go home. Baichuan added that his son could be calm. For his sake, his father would remove all hindering obstacles at any cost. Zhou Chengsui entered the metropolis and thought that the biggest city of the dynasty didn't turn out to be anything special. The young man heard the young men talking. One was wondering why they were still here. We must move quickly. Meng Nianqing is now on the city bridge. He's the only descendant of Sage Jiang, the holy archer. The interlocutor added, no matter that she is the descendant of a sage, she is the first beauty of the sect. Seeing her was like seeing the goddess of the entire era. Zhu Chengsui didn't understand what people were talking about. The young man saw everyone running towards the city bridge. He decided to follow them. The boy decided that he absolutely had to see the first beauty. Everything around the city bridge was filled with people. Everyone was excited about Xuantian's first beauty, Meng Nianqing. Zhu Chengsui climbed onto the roof of a neighboring building and watched the girl as well. The rumors had not just nicknamed her the first beauty. The young men watching the girl were all universally in love with her. They said that perfect people were too gorgeous. Zhou Chengsui took a closer look and agreed with the majority opinion. This girl is really good. The young man decided to take action. He jumped onto the sidewalk and headed towards the young lady. Everyone wondered who he was and where did he come from. Would he really dare to approach this girl? The people around him kept thinking this young man was crazy. His approaching a girl is akin to defilement. This sick man has no fear of death at all. He's digging his own grave. Zhou Chengsui walked up to the girl on the bridge, and to get her attention, he slapped her butt. The girl looked at the young man in surprise. He asked her to be his wife and promised to make her a big room. The girl did not expect such insolence. She pulled her sword out of its sheath, placed it on the young man's shoulder, and asked, "Is he really looking for death?" Although Meng Nianqing was extremely quick to bear her sword, for Zhu Chengsui it was just as slow as ever. The young man said that pointing a sword at a future spouse was very rude. The young man was calm and smiling. The girl was astonished. Who would have thought he was able to block her sword? What was wrong with his cultivation? Is it really higher than hers? Zhou Changsui grabbed the girl's hand and drew her to him. The guy asked, "Aren't these beautiful hands better for embroidering floral patterns?" It's a big loss. The young men watching this scene were terribly surprised. Could it be that someone had touched Meng Nianqing? How was this possible? It was said that she had already reached the 7th level of the primordial existence realm. She is like an unreachable sky to her peers. But all of a sudden, some boy was able to defeat her. How inexhaustible is his talent? Everyone thought, if the young man is able to compare to this girl, his level is at least 7th level. It turns out he's a real genius. Meng Nianqing, with the help of her unrivaled talent, entered the Xuantian sect and became the successor of one of the 10 sages. The girl thought that this young man was about the same age as her. But obviously, his cultivation is superior to hers. The girl was not going to put up with such disrespect and applied a rain of punishing arrows to the young man. The audience was startled. It was said that the rain of punishing arrows, it was one of the strongest techniques of the 10th sage. And the girl has already mastered it. So the young man is about to die. The young man was not frightened and winked at his companion. He wondered if the girl had stood there so long to wait for him. He had no problem repelling the attack with arrows. Suddenly, the water surface bubbled, and a giant silver fish jumped out. It seemed as if the fish was dodging the arrows, but it was too late. The rain of arrows hit the fish directly. The young man struck the spot where the fish had hidden with one hand, and the water parted, re-exposing the giant fish. A young man pulled a giant fish out of the water. Naturally, it gave no sign of life. The young man asked, "Isn't this what the girl wanted too?" The young man added that the fish was destroyed by its machinery, so he is returning the item to its rightful owner. Meng Nianqing asked who he was. The young man replied that he was no one for now. But in the future, he would definitely become her husband. The young man stayed at a city hotel. He spent the night there. On waking up in the morning, the young man decided to meditate. In this world, spiritual energy is too weak. He does not even know when he will be able to return to the world of immortals. The young man heard a commotion downstairs. He wondered, why was it so lively? Someone had said that Xuantian was recruiting new disciples. The young man went downstairs. Every 3 years, the sect opens recruitment, and half a month later, selection. But this year was different. Of course, this time the 8 distinguished sect masters would personally recruit disciples. This generation of disciples is really lucky. If a master chooses someone, they will definitely take to the skies. It is said that young master Zhu Qianye of the princely house has reached the 3rd level of the primordial existence realm. He will surely be chosen by a renowned master. The 3rd level is terrifying. If you are not the first beauty, Zhu Qianye would be called extremely talented. Zhou Changsui turned to the young man and asked, which princely house were we talking about? The young man replied that it was the residence of the emperor's younger brother. Zhu Baichuan. Doesn't the young man even know that? Zhou Changsui said that he admires Prince Zhu very much and hopes to meet him face to face one day. Zhu Changsui was going about his business. The young man asked in passing, did he really think that with his position, he could see Prince Zhu? He doesn't distinguish between reality and fantasy. Zhou Changsui thought that after his father got rid of him, then he was lucky to have another son. Zhou Changsui pondered, should he join the election of disciples by the great masters? It's been 2 weeks. 8 tables. 8 representatives of famous masters. You should have chosen a master table that you want to worship. And realize your ambitions in a crystal ball. Anyone who has reached the 1st level of the primordial existence realm will be allowed to take the exam. The names of those who have passed can be recognized on the test board. The registration fee will cost 1 low-grade spirit stone. You have to take a line and enter the examination door. The young man approached our hero and asked if he didn't have any spirit stones. His older brother did. Zhu Changshui asked under what conditions. The interlocutor explained that if the young man was chosen, he would return only 1 lower-grade spirit stone. If not chosen, the debt could be repaid with 100 stalks of suigu grass. Zhou Changsui thought that 100 stalks were equal in value to about 2 low-grade spiritual stones. But this kind of grass grows everywhere. The young man decided that it was a favorable offer. The interlocutor added that their small business never cheated customers. The businessman suggested that the young man sign his name first. The transaction took place, and Zhu Changshui took the spirit stone. He said he was moving on to the next goal. It was explained to the young man that he just had to put his hand in. He said he was starting. The masters looked at the candidates. The young man thought, "Is this really the fourth level of the realm of primordial existence?" The young man had a fourth level primordial existence realm. A renowned master would definitely pay attention to him. Everyone thought it wasn't even noon yet, and already such a genius had appeared. Everyone thought that this young man was definitely from an aristocratic family. It was Zhu Changshui's turn. The master offered him to put his hand on the crystal ball. Before this procedure, the young man thought, did he need to suppress his cultivation level? It probably wasn't worth it to stand out too much. The guy thought, if he showed cultivation of the 9th level of the primordial existence realm, the so-called 8 great masters would immediately all rush over here. The young man tensed up and placed his palm on the magic ball. The master announced that the young man had the 3rd level of the realm of primordial existence. Just like everyone else, the young man was asked to go in that direction. He took the test. The guy thought, it seems that from the beginning, the entrance was only available to disciples of cultivation levels 3 and above. He had originally lowered his level to 2nd as he didn't want to stand out. The main thing was to be inconspicuous and more reserved. The young man stepped behind the door. An unusual place awaited him ahead. It was like nothing he had ever seen before. The guy thought that being in a place like this was the limit of restraint. But if he wanted to return to the world of immortals, he had to overcome this backwater world. The young man thought that this spiritual pressure would also be a kind of test for him. Zhou Changshui wondered if it was too weak. They probably just want to tickle it. The guy noticed that it started out simple, but with each step the pressure got stronger and stronger. He found it fascinating. Zhou Changshui saw a young man ahead of him who had shown a level 4 in the test. It was very difficult for the young man. The pressure around him was only increasing. The competitor crouched on a rock. He was already on edge. It was so heavy that he couldn't move. Zhou Changshui caught up with his opponent and asked why he was lying here. You have to get up and go forward? The opponent asked, how can he walk? The pressure is already over 1,000 units. To take even a step, he has to try his best. Zhou Changshui wondered, is it really strong pressure? The young man applied a hidden technique, repeatedly jumping from side to side. The young man turned to his opponent and said he was making it up. We have to go forward. There is actually very little pressure. The rival aristocrat was surprised. Could it be that this guy had just jumped? And he was doing it with a certain ease. Who is he? Is it really the inner court elder of the sect? Zhou Changshui wanted to say something else to his opponent, but he suddenly disappeared. The young man thought that his real strength was level 7. Zhou Changshui suppressed his spiritual energy, losing his 9th level of cultivation, and he immediately fell from the external attack of spiritual energy. Zhou Changshui shouted that this was all unbearable. He couldn't take it anymore. The young man calmed down and came to his senses. He thought it had worked on him. Zhou Changshui suddenly found himself in an unfamiliar place. He couldn't understand what had happened. Who were all these people? Our hero thought that these 3 were together, or at least acquainted. Their expensive clothes suggested that they had come here for a reason. Zhou Changshui walked up to the aristocrat candidate and asked what was his name. The interlocutor trembled all over. It seemed that Zhu Changshui had frightened him. The young man was scared at first. Then, after recovering a little, he said that he, Xiao Xizhen. The people present here thought that when Xiao Xizhen appeared here, it was clear that this person who appeared soft at first glance was actually stronger than all of them. But this guy had just called him a weakling, the young man thought, a familiar feeling arising as he looked at it. The girl pounced on our hero and asked why he was looking at her so intently. Had he never met a beautiful woman before? Zhou Changshui said that he had met many beauties, but never one as beautiful as her, the interlocutor asked. What does that mean? Is this wretched beggar calling her ugly? Who is he to call her ugly? The young man said he was the son of the richest man in the capital. The young man thought about Zhu Changshui. This guy is a pathetic beggar. Even if his cultivation is higher, what can he do? There was no reason to be afraid of him here. Plus, he dared to offend his favorite girl. This young man said that this stranger drew the lucky ticket, and that's why he was able to enter here. The girl wondered how this loser was even able to pay the fee, as his level is very low. The young men decided they were the best. And this stranger can't compare to them. Zhou Changshui asked, why did they have such a high opinion of themselves? And yet they hadn't even been accepted here yet. The son of the richest man in the capital said that this young man was a pathetic beggar. And his uncle, one of the 12 elders of the sect. The boy told many more of his relatives who were related to the sect. Zhou Changshui looked at the young man and thought that this was precisely his famous younger brother. The young man said that he was the only princely son. Even the Xuantian sect showed him respect. The guy thought that in his eyes, someone like this young man was nothing more than an ant. If he wanted to, no matter how high the level was, with a slight movement of his hand, he would know hell for real. The young aristocrat said that there is no reason to rush. The first test of the sect is the pagoda. When the time comes, he will find out how good he is. Colleagues said that this Chanye is very wise. Zhou Changshui wanted to ask his interlocutor which pagoda he was talking about. He glanced around, but the young man sat far back from him. After a short time, 20 or so people had gathered. A golden light flashed, and a long-eared elder appeared with 5 young followers. Everyone immediately became animated. The elder said that the students present were the best in the exam. Each one chose his own desired mentor, and each one was fortunate to have his attention. The young men were pleasantly excited. Someone was saying that his mentor was watching him. Someone said that he would not deceive expectations and wanted to worship his master as soon as possible. Hearing the noise, the elder became angry. He gathered his inner chi and opened his mouth. After the word "but," 29 people simultaneously felt an unbearable ringing in their ears. Everyone present grabbed their ears and lowered their heads. Only Zhou Changshui, as if nothing had happened, continued to stand calmly. The elder thought, this young man, as if he had anticipated his attack. How is this possible? After this attack, the elder said, even so, these representatives are a little better than the rest of the disciples. How they act on the test will affect the choice of mentors. In this sect, everyone is equal. They can only rely on their own strength. One of the masters said that everyone will now receive a scoreboard. The first test is called the pagoda. The plaque will be an ID card. It allows one to participate in the test. Candidates should send their QI to it. The master added that there will be a board outside with their names and the original first score. The pagoda is divided into 4 floors, each with its own pass grade. Young people can only earn points by force by taking them from another participant. You have to make every effort to climb to the top. One candidate asked what to do in the event of being in danger. The master told the young men not to worry. If such a thing happened, he would automatically be thrown out of the pagoda. The master continued, however, if the participant flies out on the 3rd floor and below, or he doesn't arrive at the last floor before the time runs out, he will become an outer disciple of the sect. The 4th floor, the last floor. Those who reach it will become inner disciples of the sect. And the top 3 will become disciples of the great mentors. Someone asked if one had to be in the top 3 to be selected by the mentor. Another candidate asked if there were really only 3 spots to begin with. He was sure he could become an inner disciple of the cult. Zhou Changshui shook his plaque in his hand, deciding whether or not he should cause chaos here. After all, a real name didn't have to be used to account for spiritual energy points. The foreman said if there were no questions or objections, the test would begin in half an hour. After the allotted time expired, all 20-odd people and sect members disappeared one by one. Zhou Changshui entered the pagoda. After moving here, the young man saw that he was in an enclosed space. A few steps in front of him was a staircase with no end in sight. The young man thought that the people from the city could do something, teleporting a short distance and creating parallel space. For mortals, that's a huge breakthrough. Zhou Changshui knew that the first step should be to overcome this staircase. The young man confidently moved forward. Although the pace was not fast, Zhou Changshui had been walking for a long time. But still, he still couldn't see the top. And the steps that had been traveled were hidden behind the darkness. The boy wondered if he was already halfway through. Either way, there was probably a little bit left. The young man said that the weak-willed should have a nervous breakdown by now. But he's not. Moving at a steady speed, the young man caught up with the girl, another candidate. The young man wondered if meeting another participant meant that their space had begun to merge into one. The young man caught up with the girl with a confident gait and asked her what her name was. The girl looked around and was frightened. She wondered if her older brother had come to take her away from the pagoda. The young man shook his head negatively and said that he was as much a participant as she was. The girl said that this young man scared her to death. She thought she was past it. The guy introduced himself. He showed his plaque and said his name was Wang Shishan. He asked what was the name of his companion. The girl looked the young man in the eyes and said that her name was Chu Qingling. Another contestant joined the young people. The girl caught up with them and said she had finally found her. More young men pulled in from downstairs. The company increased. Below were 2 girls and 2 guys. With the exception of Chu Di, everyone had a second level of the primordial existence realm. Zhu Changshui looked around at everyone and settled on a man. He had a bamboo hat and eyes hidden in the shadows. The corners of his lips were maliciously lifted. It made our hero think for a moment. The girl said that one was brave. Did she really think that the family wouldn't find out about her secret trip to Xuantian? The girl continued. Did the one hope she could successfully complete her revenge on her shameless mother? She continued and said that, what kind of mother, what kind of daughter, unscrupulous. She continues to live at the expense of their Chu family. She's also running away. The interlocutor continued to mock. She asked, who did the girl think she was? What right did she have to do that? Qiu Qinglin listened to all of this and couldn't stop blushing and blushing. She tried to say something, but she couldn't even utter a word. Drops of tears froze in her eyes. The young man saw it all. Zhou Changsui said to the offending party, he believes that her face was taken out of the cesspool. Otherwise, why is her tongue? Is it solid garbage? The girl became angry. Is he really insulting her Chu family? Is he fed up with his life? The girl became very angry. And the man in the hat behind her attacked Zhu Changsui. Zhu Changsui said that it is about her. Besides, he doesn't know what kind of family the Chu family is. If it was explained to him, he wouldn't offend her. The man in the hat pounced on our hero. Zhu Changsui stopped him and threw off his hat. He grabbed his head and lifted him up. The girl thought that this was her family's bodyguard. His cultivation had reached the 6th level of the realm of primordial existence. He's her personal guardian, but he was defeated so easily by this boy. Qiu Changsui asked the guard, is he really hiding his cultivation level? It seems that the Chu family is not properly cultivated. The guard said it didn't matter who his opponent was. But if he dared to obstruct the trial of their young mistress, he would not be saved from being killed by the Chu family. Even if he became the personal disciple of the great master. The girl said if the young man touched her, the family would haunt him until his last days. Zhu Changshui said that these people talk too much. The young man decided to deal with the arrogant opponents and said that they had dug their own grave. He attacked them with fists. The competitors were surprised. Did they really fail so quickly? Zhou Changsui escorted them out of the pagoda in the blink of an eye. The young man instantly defeated the 4. And on the plaque appeared the inscription, 5. The young man took the girl's hand and called her beautiful. He asked her to go further together. Many participants began to appear on the stairs. Qiu Qinglin and Zhu Changshui continued on their way while talking. The young men kept going and met quite a few youths who were snapping and disappearing with a white light. The girl said, luckily she went with this young man, otherwise she would have failed long ago. The boy asked if she had a grudge against those people. The girl nodded silently in the affirmative. Her face became sad. A light showed up ahead. Zhu Changshui said that it looked like they had reached it. The young men found themselves in the forest. They got information that they had passed to the 2nd floor of the pagoda. The young man said there was another challenge awaiting them. And that's not a bad thing. They couldn't understand how this whole space fit into a pagoda. The young man said that this pagoda must be a spiritual weapon that created illusions, like the endless staircase they were walking on. The girl said it was some sort of engraved space rune. The young man said, this is different. Runes have one independent space, while here a space can be inside another. Through spiritual energy, you can safely control hundreds of them and change them at will. The girl clarified, It turns out everything in front of them is just a hallucination? The young man said he didn't either. Hallucinations. They are very aggressive techniques. And spiritual weapons don't have aggression. It's a kind of tool. It depends on what the person using it wants to achieve. And Zhou Changshui said, this is all basic knowledge. She already has the second level of cultivation, but she still hasn't learned this. The girl said that in the Chu family, she had always followed spiritual plants. No one trained her. She only knows a little about medicinal plants and nothing more. The young man thought that the second level could be achieved using only medicinal herbs. Zhou Changshui motioned for his companion to engage in a search for the door to the third floor. It was announced that 2 more people had made their way to the second floor of the pagoda. The young man stopped. The girl asked, "What happened?" The young man looked up and said, "Here come the easy scores." He saw the divine net. Zhou Changshui was in no hurry. He calmly opened his palm and sent spiritual energy upwards. A huge net immediately hovered in the air. Unknown youths armed with swords appeared around the young man and girl. The girl shrieked and subconsciously grasped at her companion's clothes. The unknown men with blades and bone shoulders rushed straight towards our heroes. Although they each had one weapon, 2 of them launched a simultaneous attack on Zhou Changshui. With a flick of his fingers, Zhou Changshui was able to disarm the attackers and throw them far back. The girl was even more frightened. Zhou Changshui said that she clung to his clothes and asked her to let go. The girl opened her eyes and asked, "Where is the striker?" Zhou Changshui said, he warned that these would be easy points. There is nothing to worry about. The young man asked if his companion was very eager to enter the inner sect. There was a message on the bulletin board that Xia Yufeng had scored 139 points. He is on the second floor of the pagoda. The elder thought, it seems like a great family this time has raised a really good guy. The conversation was about Xia Yufeng. This guy was only on the second floor. The real ability is revealed on the third floor. The guy from the Zhu family is pretty good too. A strong competitor has emerged. The young man continued to push his way forward. He threw aside his competitors if they got in his way. Our hero's companion asked, had anyone else managed to get in? Or had he fallen asleep on the endless stairs? The girl took a bite of the apple and said that Brother Shishan would definitely do well. Zhou Changshui said that the passage to the third floor had been found. We just need to accumulate 100 points and we can move. The young man looked at his nameplate. There was a message that he had 71 points. The boy said that he had a little more to accumulate. The young man's companion jumped down from the tree. The girl thought that if it wasn't for her, her brother would have reached the third floor long ago. Zhou Changshui said that loneliness is too dreary. A companion will dispel the boredom. He said he would introduce her to a guy, and then the 3 of them would proceed to the third floor. Qiu Qingling asked who was this third person. The young man said that she would soon find out for herself. Somewhere in the forest, on the second floor of the tower, 2 young men were tied up. There were bruises on their faces. The young man at the side, who had most likely brought them to this state, said sadly that he was still unable to read a book properly. He wondered, does it really only take 100 points? Why did he need so many? Zhou Changshui walked over to the young man and was surprised. Had he really accumulated all 100 points already? The young man saw Zhou Changshui and became nervous. Why did this guy appear in front of him again? Zhou Changshui suggested that the young man should be friends and become comrades. The interlocutor said he didn't need it and left. The young man said, if Zhou Changshui needs extra points, he will give them. And now he wants to leave. Zhou Changshui said it's not about the points. He just wants to be friends. And offered to compromise. The young man thought, why him? Why can't he read his book in peace? 2 men showed up and said it was no good having 2 grown men talking like that. Zhou Changshui put a hand on his interlocutor's shoulder and said that it was their business. Why is someone interfering in their conversation? Zhou Changshui winked at the girl and told her to just follow him. The girl silently agreed. The young people spent some more time figuring out who would go where and who would be friends with whom. Suddenly, one of the new arrivals told Zhou Changshui that he had thrown everyone out of the pagoda. So he would throw everyone out of the pagoda now. The young man shouted, "Attack!" and rushed straight at his opponent. Many more people appeared around him, ready to attack him. The young man opened his eyes and stretched. He couldn't believe he had fallen asleep. The young man said that 10,000 people had already passed. Near the entrance to the third floor, more than 10 people attacked Zhu Chengsui. As one could guess, all these people were destroyed by our hero. The young man left no one a chance for salvation. Everyone watching this event thought that the young man was acting very quickly. The young man looked at his plaque. There was a number there, 1,489. The young man smiled. Everyone thought it was better not to deal with the young man. They turned around and ran in the other direction. Zhou Chengsui said, "He will see whose speed is faster." One of the fleeing men said that this young man was a real monster. It's best not to deal with him. The two were trying to slip through the door faster so they could slip to the third floor in time. The door to the third floor was already in front of the young men. It was located right in the huge stone that rose in the forest. Zhou Chengsui shouted after them that they could leave. The young man's companion said that Brother Shishan was very awesome. How can he be so cool? Zhou Chengsui once again approached the young man, took his hand, and offered to team up. An anxious apprentice ran into the room to see the master. He asked what had happened. The master asked what had caused the young man such confusion. The man was completely calm and was writing something. The apprentice said that something incredible had happened, and suggested that the master should rather follow him. It's worthy of his attention. The man took his time and said that a life without vanity was the foundation of cultivation. What good is his disciples' haste? The master decided to follow the young man, and they flew swords, cleaving the air. Both warriors arrived at the pagoda at the same time with their swords. Near the pagoda, they were not alone. A girl, one of the people present, said that Brother Master was also here. Master asked Tian Yue what had caused everyone to gather here. The girl said there was really something interesting this time, and suggested that everyone look at the information board. Everyone saw the information. Wang Shishan had obtained 1,489 points. It was unheard of. Tian Yue said that this young man is only on the second floor. In the past 5 years, only once have they scored more than 1,000 points at this stage. The man asked, what great master did this young man choose? The master was told that the young man had chosen Zhao Ye. Why him, the man thought. Wang Shishan was congratulated on passing to the third floor of the pagoda. Qiu Qingling was congratulated on passing to the third floor of the pagoda. Xiao Shizhen also walked to the third floor of the pagoda. Zhou Tianhe, sitting on the roof of a neighboring building, said that they had arrived late. What a misfortune. Zhou Chengsui asked his mentor brother, what were the rules of the third floor exam? The man replied, did he really look that young? The three of them met one of the elders but didn't even bow. Zhou Chengsui thought that the elder of the Xuantian sect was in front of him. The young man bowed to the master and said that disciple Wang Shishan was greeting the elder and wanted to know what was included in the third floor examination. The elder, looking at the young man, thought that this disciple did not look frightened at all, and he threw the young men new plaques. Zhou Chengsui caught his plaque and familiarized himself with the information on it. The elder announced that the young men should return with enough materials and then they could get to the fourth floor. The young man said he had pure jade and inquired what his companions had. Someone said he had an insect tooth. Someone said to gather the root of a spiritual herb. The girl noticed that everyone has different materials. But if only one piece is needed, it's not that hard. Zhou Chengsui stroked the girl's head and said that she had forgotten the elder's last words. The elder said to bring enough materials. The materials are different, but their origins are similar. Zhou Chengsui advised that the purpose of this test is to find or take away the right material from other participants. The young contestant found the necessary plant. She notified her companions. Suddenly, a stranger appeared and laughed. He said that he had been looking for this from the beginning, and now he would get everything without much difficulty. Qiu Qingling said that she was the first to find it. The girl was frightened. The stranger laughed and apologized. He said that he had been looking for this particular material from the beginning, but now he would of course leave it to the girl. Zhou Chengsui looked out of the grass and asked what was wrong. He noticed a stranger and asked who he was. The stranger bowed and introduced himself. He apologized for his tactlessness. He said his name was Zhu Qianheng. Zhou Chengsui asked who Zhou Baichun was to him. The young man said that he was his second uncle. The young man said he only had a small conflict with the royal house, but he was just a simple commoner. The interlocutor was surprised at the tone of the young man's conversation. He asked if his royal family was something to joke about. The young man was surprised. Could it not be said in a calm tone of voice? The guy said he had other things to do. He doesn't have time to talk here. He went to get the next piece. Zhou Changshui thought that his cousin was a bit stupid. The plaques given by Zhu Tianheng had information. One needed to obtain the red sting, the skin of the black uniform deer, and the amethyst longevity mushroom. Zhou Changshui said that they would have to search for a large number of copies. If they do it together, it would take too much time. They should split up. The girl asked warily, did the young man really want to split up?
Zhou Changshui said that he would take the amethyst longevity mushroom, the skin of a black one-horned deer, and pure jade. He will go to the precipitous slope to find these things. The red sting and the insect bone belong to rather weak spirit animals. Shizhen should be able to handle it.
Shizhen said that he would find these two things. When they are done, they will meet here. But if they find out about other materials on the way, he will act according to the circumstances. Zhou Changshui agreed and said that they would move out. The young man had mined the steep mountain peaks for these plants. He said it was really rare. The others had been collected quite quickly. This one took more than 2 hours of searching. The girl turned her companion's attention to the cave. It shone with white light. The young people followed the direction Qinlin was pointing to. Among the cliffs and rocks, this cave could be found. A faint light was vaguely coming from it. The young man picked up his companion and said that they should definitely check it out. The young men discovered another plant at the entrance to the cave. The young man said it was not bad. Suddenly, a monster appeared from the depths of the cave. The young man immediately determined that it was a terrible snake-tailed ape. Zhou Changshui said that in front of them was a one-star spiritual beast with cultivation equal to the heavenly mystery realm. How could such a beast even be here? Qinglin fearfully asked, and what should they do now? The young man thought that this beast would not be easy to deal with. He decided to distract the monkey, and the girl must find a way to return to the plain. Qingling took her companion's hand and asked, what could happen to him? The young man said that it was a simple-minded monkey with a high cultivation level. Brother Shushan can't lose to this monkey with his IQ. The snake-tailed monkey was preparing to make an attack. The young man told the girl to get ready. The next moment, Zhu Changshui shouted to his companion to run away. He moved towards the monkey, wanting to distract it. The snake-tailed ape's gaze was fixed on Zhu Changshui. Seeing that Zhu Changshui had moved from his spot, the monkey immediately bent its knees and jumped onto the same spot where the young man had just been. The young man looked at the monkey and smiled and said that he was about to try out his perfect cultivation on it. There was an announcement in the pagoda that Dong Heping had passed to the 3rd floor. The young man said he thought that even with a good night's sleep, he would be able to pass to the 3rd floor. But surprisingly, 100 points were not so easy to score. The scary and horrible snake-tailed monkey kept chasing our hero. It chased and got closer and closer. Zhou Changshui continued to move quickly, but he seemed unwilling to increase the distance between them. At some point, during another jump, the healthy monkey lost his balance and fell off. The young man thought it was a great opportunity. Zhou Changshui accelerated and flew down to catch up with his pursuer. A young man in flight grabbed the monkey and told it to rest. Why move through the air all the time? It is time to come down to the ground to rest. The young man thought that even with the current cultivation restraint, the ape's truly tremendous persistence could be traced. For the young man, this was the perfect opportunity to test his cultivation in action. He shouted to the monkey to give his heart. In the same second, the blue formation shrank and passed through the monkey's body. She only had time to feel the heart-wrenching pain before she fell into the abyss. Zhou Changshui said, if it wasn't for her total stupidity, he wouldn't have dared to attack this beast right now. The young man descended to the bottom and walked right up to the ape that was lying down. Although this beast was a low-ranked beast. However, the beast pill would still help him with his cultivation. The young man, using his rank-appropriate abilities, attempted to extract the pill from the monkey. The young man took the beast's pill. He also took the tip of the tail and the claws. He succeeded, and he dismembered this breathless body. The guy said claws and tail? Those are great casting materials too. The young man said that this cave was guarded by a spirit beast. There must be more than just the amethyst longevity mushroom here. Watching the developments in the pagoda, the green-haired elder waited for the outcome of the events. He noticed that the jade ball on his hand had turned black. That only said one thing. Someone had destroyed the snake-tailed ape. Did it really happen? Zhou Changsui, being inside the cave, thought, what was guarded by the monkey must be of a spiritual level, not just some medicinal herb. The young man thought there was something ahead. There was. There was a light ahead. The boy walked closer and saw that there was a weeping ice willow tree in front of him. It was a valuable find. What is a tree doing in a cave? The water under the tree is not just river water. Over time, the water becomes ice. This is a very sacred tree. That's why they call it the weeping ice willow. Such a sacred tree is rarely found on Earth. But it's inside the pagoda. So it is responsible for the boundaries of one of the barriers. The young man was glad that he had thought of it himself. The snake-tailed monkey should be one of the sect's spirit beasts and guard the border point. The young man was upset. He had very rashly destroyed that snake-tailed monkey. Now he had to find a way out. The guy thought that he was already here anyway. Yes, and there was clearly a lot of spiritual energy here. He decided not to waste any time and started cultivating. At this time, in the main inner hall of the Xuantian sect, 8 of the 12 elders had gathered. The green-haired elder said that he wanted to show the reason why they were all gathered here. The elder showed everyone the blackened jade bead. He stated that someone had destroyed the snake-tailed monkey. This is an emergency, one of the elders shouted indignantly. Who did this? The one who dared to destroy the spiritual beast in the sect's territory must be severely punished. The other elder expressed calmness. He said that it was necessary not to get angry before time and to think about the point. In the pagoda, with the exception of their elder, the disciples there do not exceed the 4th level of the primordial existence realm. How could someone with the cultivation of the realm of primordial existence destroy a spirit beast? The green-haired man said that spirit beasts, even if they possess the initial level of the heavenly mystery realm, were still difficult to deal with. The elder added, he had placed a few of those low-level ones to guard the boundaries of the barriers so that no one could interfere with the exam. The interlocutor asked, did someone with the level of the heavenly mystery realm penetrate? After all, it is impossible. The girl elder said that the annual selection for the exam is very strict. On top of that, there is a restriction on the cultivation level of the pagoda. Other than their representatives and people with cultivation of the primordial existence realm, no one can enter. The green-haired man asked, in that case, was it really possible for someone with a low level to destroy a spirit beast? How could that be possible? The elder said it was possible that the pagoda had been infiltrated by people who had suppressed their level. But even so, to destroy a heavenly mystery realm level spiritual beast, it was still difficult. The green-haired elder said it was strange. And he has to report it to the sect leader. It's up to him to decide. Zhou Changsui thought that it was already the 10th level of the primordial existence realm. This was the one he had broken through. To break through to the perfection of the realm of primordial existence in such a short period of time could only be done by a genius like him. No one else in this mortal world is capable of such a feat. Qiu Qingling said that more than 8 hours had already passed. Why is Shishan still not back? The girl wondered if he was in great danger. She should still go down and look for him. The girl decided to put her plan into action and began to descend. She met 4 strangers. They asked what was little sister doing here? Did she have spiritual materials from the cliffside? The girl asked. Who were they? The girl, fearfully clutching the spiritual materials to her chest, asked, what are they trying to do now? One of the strangers said, after all, this is the Xuantian sect's examination. What does she think they are going to do now? She should give them all the materials and tablets. After taking this, they will leave immediately. The girl said firmly that she wouldn't give them anything, because there's something here that doesn't belong to her alone. The young people said that she seems to have a lot of material that they are interested in, so it would save them a lot of effort. The girl, stepping back, approached the cliff. The young men told her to calm down. They're not going to kick her out of the pagoda, so it's better for her to give it back nicely. One of the young men rushed to the girl and told her to give it back quickly. She shouted that she would not give it back and stumbled and flew down the cliff. Qiu Qingling flew down the cliff and there was terror in her eyes. The young men looked down from above. If the girl had fallen, she had been thrown out of the pagoda. and she wasn't hurt. The strangers thought that the necessary material had fallen with the girl. They were very sorry about that. Qiu Qinglin didn't fall completely. As she fell, she got caught on a tree branch and ended up hanging over a cliff. She continued to hang like this. The ground below was already vaguely visible. If it hadn't been for that tree, the girl would have been thrown out of the pagoda long ago. The girl was worried. She didn't know what to do. If Xishan's brother came back and couldn't find her, he would be very upset. The young lady didn't give up and decided to find a way to get out. She reached out and climbed up the tree. The girl thought that luckily she had the second level of the primordial existence realm, so it wasn't difficult for her to ascend. Suddenly, from above, the three insolent men flew past the girl. They were shouting and falling downward. Qiu Qingling climbed up and saw that Zhu Changsui was waiting for her there. The young man asked what she was looking at. The girl cried and said she was afraid that he had already died and would not return to her. The guy calmed her down and said that it was impossible to die here. The loser is simply thrown out of the pagoda. He told her to come up to him quickly. The girl asked how he was able to find her. Zhu Changshui replied that when he came back here, he saw her fall, but it was too late. He had no choice but to take revenge. The young man explained that all those people did was loot. That made it easier for him, though. Qinglin suggested that the young man take up the search for Xizhen. The young man supported the idea. Zhou Changsui said that he checked the materials, even if there are some they don't know. This should all be enough for the three of them to walk as far as the fourth floor. Zhou Changshui told the companion that they were going back. At the agreed place, Qinglin and Zhu Changshui, who had just arrived, found Xizhen sleeping under a tree. The young men, seeing their comrade, looked at each other and laughed. They were all together again. Zhou Changsui walked cautiously over to Xizhen and tried to wake him up. The young man woke up and was surprised to see his friends. He wondered when they had returned. Could it be he had slept so soundly? The young men began to check the extracted materials. Zhu Changsui told Xizhen that this was the exam venue. Is it really possible to sleep here? The young man said that he was very bored waiting for them. Shilin suggested that the spoils should be divided. Zhou Changsui looked at the fact that Xiao Xizhen had obtained very few materials. He only had 2 copies. The young man wondered, why so few? Zhou Changsui said that he was only told about the red sting and the insect tooth. That was what he had collected. Zhou Changsui got upset and said that the person in front of him is like a shadow puppet. The Tom is told to go down, so he goes down. The inner courtyard of the pagoda. The elder evaluated and said it was good material. If the young people scored enough points, they could go to the next floor. The young men looked at the elder and wondered, how many points are we talking about? The elder said if they had 500 points, they could pass through that door over there. The young men began to add up the number of points each had on the plaque. Xizhen asked why this was necessary. Zhou Changsui replied that they were going to cheat now. Zhou Changsui told his companions that he had given them 1,000 points each. Whether they could get into the top 3 would only depend on their luck. Zhou Changsui nudged his friends forward and told them to go ahead and feel more confident. Qingling asked, what would Brother Xishan do? The young man said that he had his own plans right now. The young man stepped away from the door, back to the 3rd level. He said it was too wasteful to finish the exam now. He had other plans. The rooftop elder asked if the young man would not go. The young man replied that not yet. The elder decided that the young man was very entertaining. 4th floor. Xizhen and Qinglin ended up here. So many people have passed through here, the girl thought. Those 2 who ran away so quickly also ended up here. Qinglin was worried. So why had Brother Xishan still not shown up? The information board displayed a message that the exam was over, and the score rating has already been set. It was announced that the 3rd place winner was Xia Yufeng. It was said that this young man was very fierce. But why did the person who had won so many plaques only take 3rd place? It was announced that the 2nd place winner was Dong Heping. This young man has been sleeping all the time. Suddenly, he got 2nd place. It's said that all his points were taken away from people who tried to sneak up on him while he was sleeping. It was announced that the 1st place winner was Heng Fei. He was said to be the creepiest person in the world. We should stay away from him. Zhou Chengsui said that he had tried so hard, but he still hadn't reached the 11th level of the primordial existence realm. It seemed like only one level, but the gap was incredibly huge. The young man stood in front of a huge magical beast. The beast was sleeping. The young man kicked it with his foot. Its cultivation was only slightly increased, with the help of the beast pills he obtained after destroying the remaining 8 spirit beasts. Zhou Chengsui looked at his hands and decided that it looked like the exam was over. The guy remembered being told that without getting to the 4th floor, one could only become an outer disciple of the sect. But in reality, that meant becoming nothing more than a servant of the sect. Having become an outer disciple of a cult without incredible success and luck, it will be almost impossible to become an inner one. The young man thought that all these medicinal herbs for feeding spirit beasts were absolutely useless. He was exiled to the medicinal field. The young man planned to use the sect to find a spiritually rich place and cultivate, spying on Lord Zhu's mansion along the way. A co-worker ran to our hero and asked, "What is Shishan doing here?" The colleague was Xia Tongming. He said that everyone went to the extra missions building for errands. If they didn't go, they would be punished. The young man calls himself a member of the great Xia family, and the one in 3rd place is his older cousin, although there is no connection between them. Zhu Chengsui said that in that case, we should hurry up, because he doesn't want to go without food. Supplemental assignment building. This is where outside students can receive assignments. Completed tasks can be exchanged for sect currency. The young man apologized and went up to the elder. He told him to look at everything on the assignment board, because he only gives out assignments of 4 stars and above. The young man thought that technological advancement was flourishing in the sect. All you have to do is simply insert the plank into this notch. The young man leaned his plaque, and a message appeared on the screen saying that he had cultivation of the 2nd level of the primordial existence realm. After registration, you need to mentally select the desired task. The elder shouted for the young man not to do that here, and get out of here, or he would put him to work. The young man said he was leaving in that case. Already outside, he thought that the old man had a nasty temper. The young man decided to research the information and see what assignments were now available. He familiarized himself with the degrees of difficulty of the assignments. The degree of difficulty was divided according to the number of stars. The young man studied the details of all the tasks. Here, one had to obtain the seeds of the heavenly leaf herb, or obtain the root of the ganji, or obtain the medicinal material of wufen. That old man told the young man that for assignments with 4 stars and above, you have to come to the extra assignment building. The young man came again to this old man and said he wanted to take an assignment. The old man asked, "Did that young man come again? Why did he come back so quickly? 5-star assignments can't just be taken. For 5-star assignments, you have to leave a deposit of 5,000 coins. The young man was surprised. The young man turned around and headed for the exit. He said he didn't have that much. The old man said he was a truly impolite fellow. The old man thought, how could he possibly want a 5-star assignment? Some busy boy. With the exception of the 5, 6-star quests, the 1st through 4th star difficulty in the sect is basic. Everyone has to buy seeds for currency and then grow them. The harvest is then sold again for currency. Within the sect itself, there is a monthly yield rate. The excess can be sold outside the sect or exchanged with other disciples. But the currency of the sect has value only here. Tasks of the first 4 stars of difficulty do not require a deposit, but the monthly rate must be met. The colleague told Shishan that he had obviously chosen a 4-star assignment. But the medicine field is too low rank. If not completed in time, there will be punishment. A 1-star assignment brings 10 coins a month per arable land. They're only allotted 5 of those. That's barely enough for daily needs. A colleague said he thinks it's better to work gradually, so that there's still energy left for other things. Zhou Chengsui said that his interlocutor was too cautious. But he doesn't make mistakes. Being cautious was not a disadvantage, but being overly serious caused too much trouble. On the way back, Xia Tongming kept analyzing the pros and cons. Only his interlocutor was too lazy to answer him. The second day had come. In the medicine field, Shishan was in charge of part of this area. It was necessary to first dig up the soil, then loosen it. After that, sow the seeds. Then, water it. And after that, put the soil back in. The young man had only managed to plant 5 beds. He was tired of the process. he did not know how long he would have to wait for the harvest at this rate. He looked around and noticed that no one was around. He thought he could use the technique. The young man applied a growth stimulation technique. After applying the proper technique, the plants began to emerge from the ground much faster. The young man decided that this was much easier. The monthly income from 4-star quests is 150 coins, but even that, too slow. Not counting the job board, there's also a trading system inside. The trading system has exquisite goods that are traded between both external and internal students. Prices also vary greatly. 4-star assignments don't even have a payment of 2 low-grade spirit stones per month. This is a very unacceptable rate. The young man decided to think of another method. The Heavenly Mystery Realm Foundation Pill would allow him to break through the 10th level of the Primordial Existence Realm, plus the 4 Heavenly Mystery Realm Pills. And he would reach the 11th level. The young man thought that if he had known sooner, he would have gone straight to that girl for help. The inner sect is truly amazing. The fields here cultivate a variety of medicinal herbs. It's like heaven and earth compared to the outer sect's capabilities. The girl thought that after passing through the sect gate, she was chosen by the deputy head of the medicinal Dao sect. She was now the elder's top disciple. The girl breathed a sigh of relief after watering all the plants. All thanks to Brother Shishan. Qinglin thought that she didn't even know how the young man was doing. Isn't he being bullied in the outer sect? The young lady thought, if it turned out that someone dared to bully her brother Shishan, she would immediately protect him. His work would always remain in her heart. The outer medicinal field. The young man thought that so many people would sleep in the same place. The attitude towards the outer disciples, really bad. The young man lay there and couldn't sleep. Because of Xia Tongming's snoring, it was impossible to fall asleep even if he wanted to. Since he couldn't sleep anyway, the young man stood up. He wondered what had happened to that girl in the inner sect. The young man got up, put on his shoes, dressed, and went out quietly. He decided to sneak into the inner sect under the cover of night and find that girl. The fact that it was night and the girl was asleep did not bother him. With a few leaps, the young man reached his goal. The arrangement of the inner sect is quite simple. These mountaintops must have 6 Dao gates. Zhou Changsui had to answer the question of which gate that girl had entered. Since he couldn't find the answer, he realized that he would have to search for the right gate one by one. As he passed by, the young man heard speech coming from inside. Someone was thanking Uncle Huan for his help. Otherwise, she would have had to reach the outer sect disciple. The girl responded by saying that she would definitely report such a favor to her father. Uncle Huan said he and her father are good friends, and the girl is engaged to his nephew. They're family now. So there's no need to talk like that. Nephew asked, Wang Xishan and Chu Qingling, would they be interrupted? Uncle said, Qingling had already bowed to the elder, and Xishan had become an outer disciple of the medicinal Dao. The young man heard this Uncle Huang say that he couldn't wait for the medicinal Dao to belong to him. The man thought he heard someone breathing outside. He ran out the door and looked around. There was no one around. Uncle Huan saw that the surroundings were empty and thought he had imagined it. Zhou Changsui returned to his seat and went to bed. He now had something to think about. From what he had heard, Qinglin must belong to the medicinal Dao. In the morning, he decided to look for her. The 2 inner disciples had made a marriage contract from the beginning. They must have wished to become paired cultivators. The young man thought that this elder was a highly respected one. Zhou Changsui thought that Qinglin was fine. And that was enough for him. He didn't care about the others. The young man realized that producing the pill was very important. One must reach the 11th level, and then he wouldn't be inferior to the middle-level youths of the Heavenly Mystery Realm. He just had to obtain the Heavenly Mystery Realm's foundation pill. The next day came. Even though the young man used the spell technique, there would be 3 times as much harvest within a month. But it was still too slow. The young man decided that tonight, before everyone went to bed, he would sneak into the inner sect and look for Qinglin. The young man heard his colleague Xia calling out to him. The young man shouted that he should open the task board urgently. That's where the awards were being handed out. Zhou Changsui asked, What kind of awards are we talking about? Xiao was breathing deeply and couldn't say a single word. After catching his breath, the young man replied that the sect had reported that there were 3 pairs of inner disciples who were going to perform a dual cultivation ceremony. Their families are distributing monetary gifts for the happy occasion. The young man thought that Huang Tianyi and Qiu Di were also practicing dual cultivation. Their speed, indeed faster than normal. Jiu Changshui was interested in the rewards and decided to see how many he could get. On the information board, there was a message that Wang Shishan had received 20 coins. Jiu Changshui was upset. He felt that it wasn't enough. This is 2 months' profit from one-star assignments. Xi added that there are thousands of outer sect disciples here, and everyone has been paid something. All in all, it's a very huge amount of money. Jiu Changshui thought that his interlocutor was right. Although everyone gets a little bit of money, but when you add it all up, it's a huge sum. He asked, "When will these ceremonies be held?" Xia said in the middle of next month. He learned about it from the stories of other sectarians. The young man asked Jiu Changshui, "How does he grow these plants? Why do they grow so much in one day?" Jiu Changshui said that he didn't understand either. He wonders how it works out too. Xia followed the young man. He asked to be waited for. Jiu Changshui came to his room and said goodbye. He said that he wanted to sleep. The young man thought about the dual cultivation. It seems that before entering the sect, these two were already engaged. Therefore, this practice is commonplace for them. So, there are many contradictions between the Tao of healing and the medicinal Tao. Otherwise, why else would they be united? The young man decided that there was an urgent need to act. The young man realized that he and Qinglin were already involved. Dual cultivation couples should carve name plaques. Jiu Changshui pondered. They think he and the girl, mere objects that are easy to get out of the way. But they will never make it to the lead role. Under the cover of night, Jiu Changshui reached the arable land, crossed the bridge, and entered the intersect for the second time. This time, the young man did not go to the gate of the medicinal Tao, but instead returned to the Tao of healing. Jiu Changshui walked down to the place where the voices were heard from, and he could get more information. The girl said that Chu Qinglin had already become an elder's disciple, and it wouldn't be easy to organize something against her. The young man replied that when his uncle entered the game, then it would be no more difficult to do so than simply squashing an ant. The young man added that the girl's master would also take his stance. Then the head of the medicinal Tao wouldn't have time to take care of himself, let alone others. The girl asked, did the young man know that her father had given a level 3 gold stud to Qingling's mother? And now, the girl has that stud. Mother and daughter, both unscrupulous. The young man, hearing this, thought that all of this pisses him off. He can't believe he's facing this. The young man waited until the two were asleep and quietly opened the door. Jiu Changshui walked into the room. He looked at the young people and thought that they were sleeping so soundly that even an earthquake wouldn't wake them up. Jiu Changshui decided that something had to be done about them. The young man thought that he had no enemies in the sect except this couple. The young man took their plaques. The guy changed the lettering on these plaques and thought the deed was done. There were too many guards on the streets. Therefore, he decided to act carefully so as not to attract attention. So he went to look for Chu Qinglin. The young man decided that the best thing for him to do now would be to hide behind the rocks. The young man thought he saw a black figure just now. Could it really be Xiao Xizhen? A young man walked up behind Xizhen and asked what he was doing here. Jiu Changshui asked, had Xiao Xizhen decided to betray his master? The guards heard voices in the night and decided to check to see who was there. The guards approached the rocks and saw that no one was there. The young man had time to hide. Xizhen asked for Jiu Changshui to let him go. The young man thought he heard laughter somewhere. Jiu Changshui asked, why was he sneaking around? He thought someone was trying to infiltrate Qingling's place. Jiu Changshui asked once more. What was Xizhen doing here in the middle of the night, and even dressed like this? It's not like it's a disciple's uniform. Xizhen said that he was saving his life. There was nothing else for him to do. Jiu Changshui followed Xizhen and asked what was wrong. Who was he hiding from? The young man said that he was hiding from his master. Xizhen added his master, the third floor observer. The young man remembered which master he was talking about. It was the elder who had met them sitting on the roof. Jiu Changshui asked why Xizhen ran away from him. Xizhen said that it was very long to explain. Master said that Xizhen was very weak and wanted to train him. The master gave him pills and other strange things every day. The youth added that the master also made him take medicinal baths in front of him for 6 hours. Xizhen added that the master was also constantly touching his back, and his touch resonated with tremendous pain. Zhu Changshui said that his interlocutor had become stronger, and it was noticeable. He had probably reached the 5th level in just a few days. Xizhen replied that it wasn't worth it. He is suffering a lot. Zhou Changshui noticed that it appeared that his master had put in a lot of effort for the sake of achieving this success. Could it be that Xizhen is so ungrateful? After all, he came to the sect to become stronger. His cultivation had already increased a lot in the past few days. Xizhen replied that he didn't like it. He wanted to learn by reading. The young men stopped on the lawn and sat down. Zhu Changshui asked, was that why his interlocutor decided to run away? Zhou Changshui added that the entire academy was surrounded by a protective field. You can't get through it that easily. Xizhen replied that he had no intention of leaving. On the contrary, he was looking for his companion. It would be better to be in his company. Zhou Changshui replied, does Xizhen understand where he has been put? Where he sleeps, there are 10 people in one room. Xizhen said he didn't care. He just needed to find a place away from here, where he can read in peace. Anything will do. Zhou Changshui asked why he should help Xizhen. The young man was surprised. Hadn't he offered him friendship? The young people noticed that there were a lot of guards. They didn't understand how they could get through unnoticed. Zhou Changshui remarked that it was a good idea to keep a low profile to begin with. Zhou Changshui explained that if one were to pass by them unnoticed, one must conceal one's breath. The young man said he had a spell that would help them with that. After casting a spell, Zhu Changshui took his friend under his arm and said that they could go. After the danger had passed, Xizhen felt sick. The young man vomited. Xizhen asked his friend if he could also teleport. Zhou Changshui replied that he could just move quickly. Xizhen was amazed at what he saw. Could it really be his interlocutor's beds? Zhou Changshui wondered what was wrong with these beds. Xizhen said that he had a request. After a while, Zhu Changshui asked in surprise, why did the young man need to dig this hole? Xizhen said it's not a bad place. The grass is tall and no one will notice him if he sets up here. Xizhen asked his companion to find him a blanket, and then he would stay here. Zhou Changshui wondered if the young man should just be buried in the ground. A few days passed. Zhu Changshui asked Tumen if there was any news from the academy. The young man thought it was better not to talk about Su Yan's release and about the death of the guardian beasts in the tower. The relationship between Han Tianlin and Ne Tianzui should cause a lot of trouble for the academy. The green-haired elder thought to himself, why isn't anything happening? Inside the gate, chaos had formed lately. There was a knock on the door. The elder asked who was there. A colleague appeared on the doorstep. He asked if the young man had never found the one who had caused them trouble. The green-haired man replied that he didn't know how to find him. That man had simply destroyed the guardian beasts without breaking the barrier. Also, without leaving absolutely no trace of him. A colleague asked if he had used his spiritual butterfly. Did it help him? The green-haired man said that not even a trace of his breath could be found. How could a butterfly help? The elder asked his colleague, what was he even doing here at this hour? He shouldn't even think of disturbing his students. Let him go back to his own place and torture his own. A colleague asked the green-haired elder to lend him his spirit butterfly. The green-haired man asked why he needed her. The elder said his new apprentice had run off somewhere. He didn't know how to find him. The interlocutor asked how many disciples had already run away from him. Elder Zhou replied that it was because they had not yet learned to accept his friendship. They would have been able to understand him long ago if they had treated him differently. The green-haired man said he'd give him the butterfly. If he stayed here even a minute longer, he would be very angry. The elder thought that there were still 2 whole days before the pear cultivation ceremony. That's a very long time. The elder told his dear apprentice that his master's attention was not his first priority at all, and he released the butterfly. The butterfly flew out through the window, and the elder thought, no matter what, the disciple won't be able to escape from him. It's been a few days. The sect's pear cultivation ceremony was about to begin. The sect head of the Zhuantian sect declared the paired cultivation ceremony open. Zhou Changshui was off to the side somewhere near the forest. He thought that it was so noisy that he could hear the drumbeat from here. Zhou Changsui asked if Xi Zhen wanted to go there and have fun. The interlocutor said that it was just an ordinary ceremony. There was nothing fun about it. Zhou Changsui asked, "What if something interesting happens? And then Xi Zhen will miss everything if he doesn't go there now." Xi Zhen said he wasn't interested. Zhou Changsui replied, "Fine, let him sit with his book, and he will go and take a walk." The elder's butterfly was already flying somewhere nearby. The young man saw a butterfly, but he didn't pay much attention to it. How many butterflies could fly around here? The interior of the sect, in the disciples' resting place. The young man changed into the clothes of the inner sect disciples. The difference in the quality of the clothes was astonishing to the young man. Now everything was ready, and Zhou Changsui was going to watch the ceremony. The elder said that he had been given the great honor of being the priest at this ceremony. He offered to bless the three couples and congratulate them on their happy marriage. The man added that he sincerely believes that together they will work well for the good of the sect and will only make it stronger. The crowd around was cheering. A pair of young men were gazing lovingly into each other's eyes. They had gathered here to form a pair cultivation union. The next couple was congratulated in the same scenario. The elder said he congratulated the newlyweds and wished them the same. The elder said he would now announce the last pair. And he took their plaques in his hands. A look of surprise appeared in the man's eyes. The man read the girl's name and fell silent. The surprise grew. Everyone in the neighborhood thought, "What's wrong?" The groom, very tense. The watchers thought, "Why has the elder gone silent? What is happening to him?" The elder angrily threw the plaque away. He shouted, "Who dares to do this?" The plaque had the inscription, Huang Tianlin. The sect master was very upset. The old man whispered something in her ear. The sect mistress announced that the pear cultivation ceremony was suspended. There has been a glitch due to technical reasons. All previous arrangements are still in effect. Everyone around them didn't understand why the director and all the masters were leaving. What was really going on? No one could understand what had happened. Zhou Changsui thought that he didn't care about what would now happen between the heads of the different schools. Zhou Changsui said that it looked like old man Huang would never return to medical school again. We should add more oil to the fire. School of Medicine. The main office. The young man thought, if this is a school of medicine, there must be a lot of magic pills here. They must be hidden in a secret vault. The young man searched the whole room. He didn't find the pills or the secret vault. The young man thought that old Huan couldn't be that poor. He had no safe deposit boxes or anything of value that could be embezzled. Zhou Changsui was upset, and he didn't understand why the curtain was closed in broad daylight. The young man pulled the curtain apart and noticed a secret room. Someone asked him who he was. The young man apologized and said he was just a new student. He did not want to disturb anyone's peace. The young man heard someone asking him to get under the bed and help him. The boy found a doll sitting on the bed. The boy heard a voice telling him to look under the bed. Zhou Changsui squatted down and thought to himself. He didn't know how to get under the bed. The young man thought that things had to be handled differently here. There must be a defense laid somewhere in here. The young man broke the protection and pushed the bed aside. Under the bed was a secret passage. Zhou Changsui wasn't confused and decided that he should go down and have a look around downstairs. Who would have thought that such a huge place would be under a small bedroom? The young man followed further and saw a girl chained up. Chains and rune magic were restraining her. She was here as if she were in a prison. Zhou Changsui wondered, wasn't she the one who was talking to him? The girl said the young man was very guessing, and it was indeed her. The young man asked what her name was. The girl replied that her name was Tun Chai. The young man asked another clarifying question. Who was she? Tun Chai. Xizhen, reading a book while lying in his pit, asked, Zhou Changsui has returned already? The young man saw his teacher standing in front of him. The young man pumped loudly with fear. The teacher said if the young man was done playing hide-and-seek, he could pack up and follow him. A traitorous butterfly flew nearby. The girl, crucified on chains, told the young man to drop blood on her chest. She added that she had a talisman on her chest. Zhou Changsui thought that he could solve the matter in a different way. So he performed his magical manipulations on the girl. The girl was on the loose. The young man said he had one question. Is she married by any chance? The girl said the young man had a lot of nerve. Zhu Changsui replied that you can't judge a book by its cover. Good wine is served in a good bowl, and a good sauce contains onions in it. But just because you don't see onions in the sauce doesn't mean they aren't there. He could go on like this ad infinitum. The young man turned around and said that in that case, he was leaving. He had done all he could for the girl and let her deal with the rest. The girl thought about it and told him to wait. The girl said if the young man would help her a little more, she would give him something. The boy thought it looked intriguing. The freed prisoner said she would tell him where the magic pills were hidden and how to get there. But she only wants one of them. The rest he can keep. Zhou Changsui asked the girl if among those pills, was there a pill of the celestial pill? The girl replied, if Huang Tianlin didn't take it, there must be such a pill there. Zhou Changsui looked at this girl and couldn't understand what her cultivation level was. But if Huang was able to seal her strength with such a weak spell, then her level, half of Huang's level at best. Even if he helped her replenish her strength, it wouldn't be difficult to defend against such a low-leveled person in case of anything. Zhu Changsui said that he agreed to help the girl. The elder was incredibly angry. He couldn't understand who dared to cause such a scandal in the sect. Moreover, by setting him up so badly, the man said he would find that man, whoever he was, destroy him and tear him to shreds. Zhou Changsui walked up to the medical vault and his eyes lit up. He was delighted. The young man thought that a large number of pills could be stored here. The girl told the young man that he could open the door with her jade tablet. The boy tried it and leaned the tablet against the door. The sign worked, and the young man managed to swing the doors open. But he thought it lived up to his expectations. All those pills could be worth over 120,000 points. Zhou Changsui looked at the contents of the shelves and felt a little frustrated. Why were they all of such terrible quality? The young man proceeded into the depths of the vault. He saw that there was another door. The second vault had better contents. There were soul-dispelling pills, golden leaf pills, and gunhi herb powders. There were also various essences here. The guy thought that all these pills were at least rank 3. There are even heavenly pills here. Zhou Changsui couldn't believe his happiness. Would he really be a rich man now? Everything he could carry with him. Zhou Changsui piled it all into one pile and stuffed it into his sack. He thought it was an amazing catch. The young man thought that he really hadn't found the pill that Tong Chaiyi needed, nor the celestial pill. So, he should look in the third vault. The pill seeker walked to the door above which was a sign saying it was the entrance to the third vault. As he entered the third vault, he realized it wasn't that simple. There was a defense here. It had only been activated when he entered the room. Everyone outside sensed something was going on, but they couldn't tell what it was. The elder was the first to realize that the problem was at the entrance to the vault. The guards must have been triggered. The elder decided to test his hunch. Zhou Changsui was in the third vault and thought that he was so focused on stealing pills that he had completely forgotten about the possible traps. The young man decided to waste no time and carry off as many pills as he could take. The elder broke into the vault. He saw the emptied shelves and shouted, "Who dared to do this?" The man used his unique abilities and determined that judging from the breath marks left in the vault, it was the work of the same person who had defaced the jade tablets. The elder said that this rascal should pray that he would not find him. Otherwise, he would become a dead man immediately. In front of the girl trapped under the bed, Zhu Changsui appeared again. This time, he was carrying a bag containing many pills. The girl asked if he had brought what he owed. The boy replied that he had risked his life to come back here. She was only interested in the medicine. The guy opened the bag and started looking for the necessary pill. He told the girl if she didn't like him, she could say so, and he would leave her alone forever. The young man pulled a vial out of the bag and said, "This is just the potion she was talking about." The young man walked over to the girl and told her to open her mouth. He was going to pour the mixture into her. While the girl was at a loss, the young man carried out the plan. The mixture had the desired effect, and Tun Chai became completely free. The girl stood up and walked over to the young man. She put her hands on his shoulders and said that she was certainly obliged to him for saving her life. But he had insulted her in the short time they had known each other. Tunchai grabbed the young man by the neck and said that she intended to teach him a lesson. A heartbreaking spell was applied to the young man. The young man asked why she was so cruel to him. She had already rejected him, so why go so far? Zhou Changsui grabbed his interlocutor's hand and pressed a kiss on her lips. Afterward, the young man asked how she felt now. Isn't his kissing spell sweeter than her heartbreaking spell? Tunchai pushed the young man away and stepped aside. The young man thought that it wasn't so bad after all. The girl was terribly angry. She said the young man could get ready, because she was about to destroy him. Suddenly, the girl began to undergo some kind of transformation. A strange kind of incomprehensible energy formed around her. Tunchai screamed and fell to the ground. Zhou Changsui fortunately thought that the medicine had worked after all. The young man walked over to the girl and squatted down beside her. He noticed that she was still at a high level. The boy thought he was lucky. She hadn't had time to fully recover her strength, or he would have died by now. The young man left some potions lying senseless on the girl, turned around, and walked away. Zhou Changsui walked towards the medicinal field. He felt 2 breaths. The grass pit where Xijin should be was empty. The young man thought that his friend seemed to be hiding badly after all. Zhou Changsui went back to his restroom, the place where he usually sleeps. He thought that he had carelessly left traces of his presence in the vault. He might be discovered soon. He didn't think he could stay safe here. The boy thought that all he needed to do now was to bring his powers up to level 11. That would mean he could defend himself against the Masters. The negotiation room of the Zhuantian sect Masters. There are 6 Masters out of 12 present at the negotiations. The sect head is also here. The green-haired elder said, "Is it possible that the person who altered the jade tablets of the paired cultivation ceremony and stole the pills and the one who destroyed the sacred beasts are the same person?" The elder said he discovered it was the same odor. It's strong evidence and physical evidence. This odor is exactly the same as on the corpses of beasts. One of the elders said that it was true. So this person pretended to be a disciple to sneak into the sect. Another elder remarked, "If he was taking the exam, they should have information about him saved." The girl requested that Master Zhou verify this information. The elder noticed that this odor came from one man when he first met him. Could it be that it could have been Hen Fei? The opponent replied that it's impossible, because that guy is always focused only on his training. After one of the masters chose him as his disciple, he asked to go to the bone cave, but never returned.
The elder said that he said something similar to Master Zhang's disciple.
Master Jin said she thought so too, but she wasn't sure. The elder said he understood. There's only one person left as a suspect. It's Wang Shishan. Zhou Changsui walked out of the cave while stretching. The young man thought that the 11th level had been reached. Now, he would be able to fight against mid-level masters. A young man was walking through the forest. He saw a group of sect disciples standing off to the side. Zhou Changsui immediately hid behind a tree before they noticed him. He thought that they appeared to be very fast. It seemed to him that he wouldn't be able to return to the medicinal fields. Everyone would be looking for him by now. But with his current powers, he wouldn't be able to open the gate, so that left him with only one place to go. Zhou Changsui decided that he had to save brother Xiao Xizhan. Suddenly, the young man heard himself being told that it was good that he had been found. Zhou Changsui walked out onto the lawn. There were 3 people in front of him. One of them said that it had been a very long time since they had seen each other last time.
The man said the young man gave him a lot of trouble with his strength.
Zhu Changsui said he recognized him too. An old acquaintance of his. The young man showed the young man the receipt and said that he had to pay 1 goldstone and 7,800 suigu stocks. Zhou Changsui was very surprised. Wasn't it only about 100 plants? Why so many? The interlocutor said 100 plants, that's 100%. Plus, he applied a discount. And instead of thanking him, the young man asks him questions like that? The moneylender walked over to Zhu Changsui and took him by the shoulders. He said that the young man owed him a debt. Zhou Changsui said, "He has a counteroffer. How about 150 low-grade spirit stones?" The interlocutor shouted that his opponent still wanted to trick him. Zhu Changsui said that he wanted to think about it and began to rummage through his bag. The young man took a vial out of his bag and said that this treasure had been passed down in his family for generations. It should pay off all the debt. The interlocutor snatched the vial and thought that it was Tianxuanzi's potion. This bottle is worth at least 200 spirit stones. The usurer asked if his interlocutor had any more potions like that. The young man pronounced that he was quite an important person in the outer parts of the sect. If Zhu Changshui wanted to sell such a potion, he would not be offended by the price. The loan shark offered the young man his cooperation. Zhou Changshui said that he did indeed have more to offer. He thought to himself that if his interlocutor wanted to deceive someone, he should at least hide his foxtail. Zhou Changshui added that all his brothers and sisters in medical school know that he has the best pills. And they also know that he keeps his eyes open at night in fear that someone will try to steal them. The moneylender offered the young man to stay with them for a few days. And not to worry, he would lose nothing. If the young man exchanges all these medicines for a huge sum of money, he will no longer have to fear that someone will steal them. Zhou Changshui said that he agreed, and they struck hands. The moneylender said that he was ready to treat the young man to a very tasty meal. The cunning businessman was pleased. He thought he had lured the poor sheep into the lion's den. Zhou Changshui thought that in this sect, the difference between the rich and the poor was very noticeable. The lender told the young man not to be shy, to come in and have a seat. Zhou Changshui pointed out that the interior inside this room looked very rich. Zhou Changshui thought that this was all for a reason. The young men were left alone in the confined space. All three of them looked at Zhou Changshui threateningly. The moneylender told the young man to give all his medicines to his elder brother, and he would absolutely honestly sell them for him at a very favorable price. Zhou Changshui asked if his interlocutor was sure of what he was promising. The young man said that he didn't have time to joke with Zhou Changshui. He must give up his medicine, or they would consider him their enemy. From outside, someone knocked on the door. The voice outside said that it was Jia Ge, and he wanted to warn that something had happened outside the gate. Shi Ji entered the room and said that a new disciple from outside the gate area had broken into the medical school's vault. The moneylender asked if a disciple of the outer gate could go inside and empty the vault. I mean, it's not realistic. Xiaga said it was true. They have already announced that they are preparing to arrest this student. I think his name is Wang Shishan. The young man thought for a moment. It seemed to him that he had heard the name somewhere before. Zhou Changshui stated that the conversation was now about him. Everyone looked at each other. The moneylender took the bag of pills from Zhou Changshui and wanted to see what was new. Zhou Changshui sat quietly and waited for the results of the inspection. The loan shark sent the boss the latest news. The entire sect area is under lockdown. The inner gate has sent hundreds of their disciples to the outer gate to investigate. There's no way into his armory now. And he can't get that flying sword that the boss wants. The older brother from the teacher's school who recently joined them before they left said he was going to find out who Wang Shishan is. We have to be careful. He hid everything in his place for now. Zhou Changshui told his interlocutor that they had better think about what they would say if someone came here. The loan shark said that Wang Shishan can feel completely safe here. This is his secret suite. They even have a key locking function. It was also reported that Master Zhan's disciple, a girl whose name was Chu Qinglin, had been arrested by the people from the inner gate for being acquainted with Wang Shishan. The moneylender asked the young man how close he was to Chu Qingling. Zhou Changshui stood up from his seat and menacingly asked, "What is the interlocutor going to do with that girl?" Zhou Changshui left the room and went to the forest. In the forest, he hid behind a tree to avoid being discovered. The young man thought that as long as none of the masters were around, it shouldn't be a problem to enter the inner gate. But first, he needed to find out where Qinglin was being held. He thought it was strange that the girl had been captured, and Xiao Shizhen had not been touched. Zhou Changshui decided that he had no choice but to infiltrate behind the inner gate again. After a long search, Zhou Changshui still managed to find Shizhen. The young man was taking a bath. Zhou Changshui said that he now understood Shizhen's desire to escape. This must be some special kind of torture. There was an incredible fragrance coming from the bathtub. Shizhen saw his friend and rushed to him with a hug. He said he was very happy to see brother Shishan. Shizhen said that his brother had to save him. Zhou Changshui said that this liquid is so precious that many people would give a lot of money to get it. And Shizhen is trying to escape. Zhou Changshui asked his interlocutor, couldn't he feel how much his strength had increased? Xizhen asked, "In what way? Would a high level of cultivation be able to increase his knowledge?" Xizhen added that he didn't care. If Zhu Changshui was able to sneak in here, then there was no one from the guards outside. He would quickly get dressed now, and they would leave here together. The young man quickly dressed and said he was ready to leave. Suddenly, a voice sounded. An elder appeared and asked where his favorite disciple was going. The elder added that little Wang Shishan was also here. The master said there is much more power in this water. Why did his apprentice leave the bathroom? Xizhen asked his friend, and what should they do now? The master told the young man not to look at him like that. He wouldn't tell anyone that he had ended up here. The elder added, although Shishan's friend is under arrest, no one will harm her in Master Zhan's presence. Zhou Changshui asked what the elder wanted from him. The elder distractedly looked out the window and said that the weather was marvelous today. They probably wouldn't catch such beauty soon. The elder added that half a year ago, Master An, the head of the Wisdom Gate, had predicted that in the coming days to today's date, the entire sect would experience an imminent disaster. Because the Zhuantian sect has faced many problems, no one knows about it except the sect head and a few masters. Zhou Changshui wondered why, in that case, the elder was telling them about this. The elder replied that there was a factor that could give the sect a chance to survive the disaster. Initially, they had no idea what that factor might be. Master continued. But then the young man massacred the 9 sacred beasts in the tower. Then Elder An told them that there was still hope. And that hope was Wang Yishan. Tong Chai was in the dungeon under the bed, meditating. She emptied all the vials of mixture that Zhu Changshui had left behind. The young lady noted that her strength had now increased significantly. She was only 1 step away from reaching the realm of the Celestials. The girl thought, if it wasn't for that old man, she wouldn't have lost so much time. Belle realized that the old man would soon come here again, so she had to get out of here. Zhou Changshui replied to the elder that he was only a disciple of the outer gate. How could he be the hope of the entire Zhuantian sect? The young man thought that even if the entire sect was destroyed, he would have nothing to do with it. He does not wish to get involved in their problems. The elder asked, so the young man was able to make a breakthrough through the realm of primordial existence? Zhu Changshui asked, how does the master know this? The elder said that the realm of primordial existence is divided into 9 levels. And after the 9th, a young man would be able to break through to the realm of heavenly mysteries. But in reality, the realm of primordial existence is divided into 12 levels. Only those who have been able to reach the 12th level can be called masters of the realm of primordial existence. The elder regretfully said that he still had no way of knowing what level Wang Shishan was currently at. The master added that he would allow himself to find out for himself what level the young man was now at. The master took a fighting stance and prepared to attack. Zhou Changshui realized that he had to answer. And there was a clash between the disciple and the master. The young man skillfully repelled the elder's attacks. Zhou Changshui said, even though he was still in the realm of primordial existence, he was able to withstand against an opponent in the realm of heavenly mysteries. The elder after this ordeal said, it seems to him that the young man is indeed their hope. The elder approached Xizhen afterward and said that he was trying very hard for the young man's strength to increase and his chances of survival to increase. The elder said that he would prepare such liquid for Zhu Changshui as well. He really hoped that the young man would be able to make a breakthrough to the realm of heavenly mysteries before the disaster. Zhou Changshui told Xizhen he felt that his master's methods were too slow and asked if the young man wanted to help him. It's been 2 weeks. The secret residence of the moneylender, Xia Liu. Zhou Changshui entered the residence and asked how his brother was doing. He reported that he had returned. Xia Liu said that he was very happy that his brother had returned and motioned for the young man to take a seat next to him. Zhou Changshui asked his interlocutor how was the success of the technique he taught him. Xia Liu said that it was amazing. The young man replied that thanks to this technique, he was now at the 5th level of the primordial existence realm. And he thanked brother Wang Shishan. Shishan said, that's good. It's just that he happened to look at the list of goods here and saw a couple of new items. Xia Liu huffed and asked what the young man was interested in. Shishan pointed his finger at the plaques that had information about the things he was interested in. Xia Liu said that he understood and added that he didn't want the young man to thank him. Zhou Changsui said that he had to go now, and added that they would meet the next time. Xia Liu was upset when he heard that the young man could still come back. Zhou Changsui thought that thanks to Xia Liu, Master Zhou, he was now at the 11th level. He is just one step away from the final point of the primordial existence realm, and would be the first disciple to reach the heavenly mystery realm. If, of course, he could survive the impending catastrophe. Zhou Changsui turned around and ran back. He decided to check to see how Xiao Xizhen was doing. Zhou Tianhei's residence. A young man walked in and said that he was back again. Xiao Xizhen was overjoyed. Xizhen said that he had reached the 9th level of the primordial existence realm, and he feels great. The young man added that once he reached the realm of heavenly mysteries, he would be able to study hard and not wash himself in strange liquids every day. Zhou Changsui said that he and Master Zhou had decided to slow down the young man's cultivation development a bit, so that he could train in the realm of primordial existence. Xizhen said that the two of them were just mocking him. Zhou Changsui meditated and cultivated. He had already reached the 12th level of the realm of primordial existence. The young man thought that it was time to look for opportunities to pass the exam to enter the realm of heavenly mysteries. Zhou Changsui came to Master Zhou's residence again. Once again, he saw Xizhen taking a scented bath. Xizhen said that he has already reached the 10th level of the primordial existence realm, and knows that this is not the limit, and asked that the young man tell him how he could speed up his cultivation. He can't stand these baths anymore. The interlocutor said that he would tell him when he reached the 12th level. Elder Zhou appeared on the doorstep. The young men said, "He has finally returned." The elder said that the young man should immediately rescue Chu Qingling, because he himself cannot interfere in this matter. The medical school started to act. The young man thought, "It seems that Huang Tianlin and Xu Di are tired of acting stealthily. They are losing patience. The medicinal school will be under attack. Even Zhang Tianyue won't be able to protect Chu Qingling." Zhou Changsui thanked Elder Zhou for telling this, and added that he would go to take action. Xizhen wanted to go with him. The master stated that the young man needed to keep practicing. Elder Zhou thought that a disaster was coming. The young man looked out and said, he noticed that a lot of guards had appeared. The guards proceeded to the residence. They behaved secretively and suspiciously. Zhou Changsui continued to watch the people in cloaks. It seemed to the guy that these people weren't high level enough to go there. Suddenly, the suspicious people disappeared. The house in front of the young man became a blur. Suspicion crept into the young man's mind. It can't be, he thought. It was the defense field that triggered it. There was no doubt about it. Zhou Changsui assumed that it was a foreign invasion. This seemed quite interesting to him. Zhou Changsui proceeded further and stealthily made his way inside the building. Inside this building were rooms behind bars. Practically a prison. The young man saw the wanted girl. The young man got inside behind the bars and sat down beside Qinglin. He said she had a nice place here. The girl tearfully threw herself on the young man's chest. She was crying loudly. The young man said nothing bad had happened, but she was in tears. Qinglin was very happy that Brother Shishan had found her. She had dreamed of this for so long. The girl asked why everyone was looking for Brother Shishan. Was he in some kind of trouble? Brother Shishan said that nothing happened. He just got a little rowdy, but that shouldn't be a big problem. The young man's nose became like Pinocchio's. The young man said, he doesn't understand why all these old men are freaking out. Zhou Changsui took some food from the bowl and asked, does the girl really eat this? It seems like her master doesn't really care about her. After all, this food is disgusting. Qinglin said that her master hasn't visited for 3 days. That's not humane. Zhou Changsui said that they couldn't waste a moment, and added for the girl to follow him. The young man took the girl out of her confinement and brought her to Elder Zhou's residence. Xizhen was still taking baths. Xizhen asked what was going on. Zhou Changsui said that Xizhen would look after her. He himself will take care of more important things. The young man stepped outside the area and followed into the forest. He was interested in the protective field. He hadn't realized that the protective field could only protect the inner gates, but they had forgotten about those outside the gates. Suddenly in the forest, Zhu Changshui saw the shadow of a stranger. He looked very suspicious. The young man walked bravely to the middle of the lawn and said, "It seems to him that Mr. First Place in all tests. He knows no manners." The mysterious Mr. in the dark cloak stared intently at the unexpected interlocutor. The young man had determined that he had the 8th level of the primordial existence realm. He was 1 cultivation level higher than Meng Nianqing. The stranger asked if the guy in front of him was the guy who stole the pills. Zhu Changshui wondered if the person in front of him was one of Huang Tianlin's men. The hooded man said he wasn't going to answer the young man's questions. He was here to take him with him. A strange blue flame appeared in the stranger's palm. The hooded man tried to attack our hero. Zhu Changshui repelled this attack and deactivated his opponent's actions. The young man responded by attacking the hooded man. The man wondered, what kind of attack was this? Blood came out of his mouth and he lost consciousness. Zhou Changshui picked up the stranger in his arms and decided to carry him to another place. Shizhen shouted that everything was gone now. The girl must not have seen him while he was in the bathroom. He didn't know how he should go on with his life. Wang Shishan appeared in front of the young men. He was holding the black-cloaked stranger's emotionless body in his arms. Shizhen asked, what had happened to his friend? Why did he bring him to him, unknowingly? Did he have no respect for him at all? Zhou Changshui asked, why was Shizhen talking about an obscure maiden? Did he advise the young man to take a bath without closing the door? Shizhen said, apologizing that he didn't mean it. And he doesn't want to voluntarily take those baths. Zhu Changshui said that half of his body was underwater anyway. It's unclear why he's so nervous about this. Shizhen asked, who is in Shishan's arms this time? The young man replied, it's the one who ranked first when entering the sect. Everyone present realized that it was about Heng Fei. It was said that this guy was elected to the inner gate, and then he went to the bone cave to train. So it's time to clear things up with him. Zhou Changshui slapped the cloaked man's cheek and told him to come to his senses. He must answer some questions. Heng Fei came to his senses and asked, what was done to him, and where is he now? Zhou Changshui said that the opponent might not even try to use his strength. Otherwise, his bones would start to break, and he would eventually die. The young man added, so his opponent wouldn't stare at him so viciously. Otherwise, he would regret it. Heng Fei was scared. What are they going to do to him? Zhou Changshui replied that he didn't have to fear for his life. Zhu Changshui said that he would only ask 3 questions. And if Heng Fei answered properly, he would be released. However, if the young man answers even 1 question incorrectly, we will have to extract his soul from him, put it in a small container with a soul-eating worm, and dump it where no creature will find it. Zhou Changshui added that Heng Fei would only be reborn after 10,000 years. Zhu Changshui said, now he knows who is behind all this. Shizhen asked, is it true that his master was locked up by that old man, Huang Tianlin? Zhu Changshui said, all the facts say so. But Heng Fei doesn't know where he is being held. The young man added, he didn't think they would be able to take control of most of the sect masters. Xiao Xizhen asked, so what should they do now? Zhu Changshui suggested that we just stay here. It doesn't affect them in any way. Shizhen said that he agreed. Xia Qinglan asked, what did they mean by that? As sect disciples, weren't they obligated to help their masters if they were in trouble? Shizhen told her not to worry. His master would get out of any situation. Zhou Changshui remarked that he was generally indifferent to the fate of this sect. But for the sake of his friends, he might go and see what's going on there. The young man added that he wasn't sure if he could save the master. So, there's not much to count on him. In the end, Zhu Changshui declared for his friends to wait for him, and he himself ran off in that direction very quickly. Shizhen told the girl that she could make herself at home. He decided to take a nap himself. Suddenly, Master Zhou appeared. He asked Shizhen why he had spoken so badly of him. Shizhen told the master that he was wrong and apologized. The elder motioned for the young men to go inside. He said he had a story to tell. The girl said that Brother Shishan had left. The elder replied that this young man would not be lost. He asked if the girl liked him. Master Zhou asked Heng Fei, could he answer a few questions for him? The young man looked out from behind the cliff again. He thought that he had already reached the 12th level of the realm of primordial existence. So even if he crossed paths with someone a level higher, he had a good chance of escaping. But he was still wary of something. The young man thought that if a true spirit realm master was on the other side, he would be in big trouble. The young man thought that now was the right time to create a spiritual shadow. Spiritual shadow doesn't really belong to the spiritual spell class. He can't use his powers in this form, but it's an ideal technique for scouting. Admittedly, the spell doesn't last long. The young man figured he only had half an hour to at least reach the place where they kept the master. In the secret room, the necessary ritual was taking place. The man said that here and now, he was proclaiming him the new head of the Xuantian sect. The young man said that he was obliged to accept the position of the head of the spiritual school. The boy said that the pearl sword should belong to him. The man noticed that it was a magical weapon, one of those belonging to the defenders of the mountain barrier. If he gave it away, what would happen to the mountain squad? The young man noticed that the elder had also been spying on the mountain troop for a long time. The man said that if they gave up this position to him, he could share the artifacts of the mountain barrier protector squad with everyone. He was sure that during the sect's cataclysm, this squad wouldn't be of much use anyway. After that question, what questions did they have left to discuss? Zhou Changsui overheard this conversation and thought that Huang Tianlin and the other masters were plotting all this. Could this be a conspiracy? The guy thought there was some kind of dissension within the sect. Now it's turning into a rebellion. Not only against the medical school, but also against the spiritual school. The young man guessed which schools the remaining two masters belonged to. After receiving the necessary information, Zhu Changsui decided to act and went on to carry out his plan. At this stage, the young man was interested in where Zhang Tianyue was being held. The young man scanned the wall that was nearby with his keen eyes and realized that there was something behind it. Zhou Changsui, using his 12th level magic ability, looked through this wall. He was astonished by what he saw. The guy thought it was an interesting spell. It was a good thing that his spiritual shadow technique didn't belong to the spiritual spell class. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to sneak in here. The young man followed further and saw that Master Jin, the deputy head of the sect, was in front of him. The girl was in confinement. The young man bowed and said that he was Wang Shishan, a close friend of Qingling's. He had only come here with good intentions. Master Zhan said, "So that's what he is, Wang Shishan?" She had finally seen him. Master Zhan added that the young man should leave here immediately. He shouldn't stay here. Wang Shishan said, "He is here to rescue Master. He came on this very mission." Master Zhan said that the heads of the medical and weapons schools, as well as the masters of the Dao Art School, have all been caught. They are being held in different places. Master added that the young man should go to the Zhu family in the Imperial City and find Zhu Tianche, the deputy head of the Dao Art School there. He should find a way to get out of there and tell them about what's going on here. He will definitely come to their rescue. The young man wondered, was the Zhu family really in an Imperial City? Master Zhan said, she hoped the young man would find a way to get out of here. The young man found himself outside the settlement, still covered with earth. The boy said that he would like to go to the Zhu family himself. The young man regretted that he could not get out of here. Suddenly, in the sky above the sect, the young man saw a huge monster. The boy tried to follow him. Who could it be? Master Zhou asked, did Liu Tianming, the deputy head of the spiritual school, decide to betray the sect? We'll have to get rid of him. Tianming said that he was only the deputy head. If he stays in this position, he will never be able to seize control of the sect. Also, he wouldn't be able to obtain the Pearl Sword. The man added that he could sense the true spirit realm energy in his interlocutor, but he was still only a step away from a breakthrough. He laughed and decided to spiritually attack Elder Zhou. Elder Zhou was injured and began to bleed. He lowered his head. Xizhen and Qingling cried out in fear. Zhou Changsui, who was on the roof of a neighboring house, watched the scene. He saw the deputy head disappear. Zhou Changsui walked over to Elder Zhou and his friends. Elder Zhou said that they should all follow him. Elder Zhou and the young men settled down in the cave. The elder began meditation and self-healing. The girl asked Shishan, what should they do now? The young man said that Master Zhou would obviously need some time to heal his wounds. Wang Shishan remembered about the girl he had freed from the dungeon under his bed, Tong Chai. The young man said he had someone in mind who could help them. Shishan told his friend to follow him. This place should be safe. Therefore, Qingling will take care of the master and they will quickly find someone and return. The young men, as they passed by, heard the conversation coming from inside again. Someone was saying that they shouldn't do it because the deputy head, Master Lu, was about to wake up. The young man told his fiancée that he would not wake up so soon. His uncle gave him medicine so that he would recuperate for a while and sleep. The girl told the young man that he had owned her for so long. Therefore, there should be no hurry. Uncle Huan told them to be serious. They can't make mistakes. The young man said that there was no need to be afraid. Apart from the outer gate master, most of the others had been caught, and Master Zhou was seriously injured. Even if he recovered, he wouldn't be able to pass through here because of the protective barrier. The young man added, if his uncle was able to seize control of the sect, then no one else could be a hindrance to them. The girl said that it should not be forgotten that Wang Shishan was left behind. After all, he was the one who replaced the plaques. He also robbed the medicine storehouse. The young man replied that it was nothing. If the young man ventured to meet his uncle, he would realize that in comparison to him, he was a mere speck. The young people entered the room and Wang Shishan said, "It is just a coincidence. The bug they were just talking about is going to teach someone a lesson today." The young man wondered, how dare this Shishan show his face here? Did he really think that they were still in the Tower of Trials? The young man said they're just not in the Tower of Trials. Which means if he destroys someone, it will be for real. The groom wondered, are young people in such a hurry to die? Wang Shishan was tired of these worthless conversations and approached his opponent and gave him a right hook. The young man's mouth bled. Shishan said that it was now Xi Zhen's turn to deal with that rascal. Xi Zhen said he wouldn't do that. Wang Shishan said that his colleague has no sense of teamwork. We shouldn't forget that his master is now suffering from the injuries that Master Lu inflicted on him. Doesn't Xi Zhen really care? Wang Shishan said for Xi Zhen to deal with the opponent in that room. After that, the young men visited the basement room where Tun Chai was. The room was empty. Shishan thought, had she really left? The young man said. Thankfully, he had prepared himself. He took out a jar and opened it. A treacherous butterfly flew out from there. He was frightened and asked where it had come from. Wang Shishan said that they should follow this butterfly. An elder appeared, and when he saw the young men, he cried out with fear. Who dared to do such a thing? The picture the man saw really shook him. Xi Zhen asked his interlocutor if it was true that you could use this butterfly to find anyone. The young man added, it seems that his master once found him in a pit just because of this thing. Shishan noticed that this direction was leading them outside the sect head's residence. Xi Zhen assumed that there was some secret place in the outer gate. Shishan said he wasn't sure yet. He had been there before, but just wandered around the head's residence. He remembers that there should be a bamboo forest there, not far from the mountains. But he's never gone that far. Xi Zhen asked fearfully, could a strong spirit beast be kept there? Shishan said, his interlocutor is already at the 10th level of the primordial existence realm after all. He shouldn't be afraid of spirit beasts at all. Suddenly, someone shouted where these young people were going. And not far from them, an explosion went off. The young men barely had time to jump aside. Huang Tianming appeared in front of the young men. The man shouted that the young man had ruined his nephew's wedding and stolen the pills. He also subjected his nephew to ridicule. Tianlin shouted, if he didn't blow the young man's body into pieces right now, he wouldn't be able to get rid of this hatred in his heart. Zhou Changsui decides to distance himself from his opponent and activates his defensive grappling. Suddenly, a stranger appeared near Xi Zhen. The young man asked who he was. The stranger said that he was the deputy head of the medical school, Xia Tianqi. The deputy head asked, since when did the Zhuantan sect acquire 2 disciples of this level? Zhuantan used the strange green disc for defense and offense. Wang Shishan massacred this young man and sent him away from the Sin. The young man said that there was no need to be afraid of people with such a low level of the heavenly mystery realm. The deputy head of the medical school came back holding this green disc and told everyone to get ready. The young man said threateningly that he was about to finish everyone off. Wang Shishan told his interlocutor that his enemy was that elder. and this young man would be dealt with by Shi Zhen himself. Wang Shishan decided to fight for real against Elder Tianming. The man asked, how was this possible? The young man is only at the 9th level of the primordial existence realm. How is he going to fight him as an equal? Wang Shishan said that he had slightly underestimated his opponent. It was now clear how he was able to capture all the other sect masters. The elder thought, how could the young man determine his cultivation level? After all, isn't he at the level of the realm of primordial existence? Then, what is his level? Wang Shishan said that he was a disciple of the primordial existence realm, but his opponent was too inattentive. The young man attacked his opponent and applied the 9-headed dragon to him. A huge dragon appeared and was about to attack the elder. The dragon made such a powerful strike that the elder flew far back and hit the stone and shattered it. He thought, how is this possible? The elder asked, what's going on? The young man is only at the 9th level of the primordial existence realm after all. He shouldn't be able to harm him. Even by surrendering his spiritual body to the flames? The man asked what spell his opponent was using. The young man thought that although Huang Tianlin's aura had been pierced, this blow couldn't save him. The only thing left was to take Shi Zhen and run away from here. Only by retreating would they have a chance to survive. Suddenly, Shi Zhen fell from the sky. This was probably the aftermath of the battle he had fought with the Green Disc Youth. The deputy head said that the young man was also quite talented. Does he want to be his apprentice? If he says yes, we'll have to spare him. Shi Zhen said he disagreed. The young man with the disc said, so the young man has guts, and stated that they have a chance to test who will win, his sharpening stone or his opponent. Suddenly, Wang Shishan jumped up and punched the young man with the green disc in the jaw. The young man lost his balance and dropped the disc from his hands. The blow was so strong that the deputy head fell to the ground and was unable to get up. Wang Shishan walked over to the sharpening stone. Shishan looked at the sharpening stone and remembered his friend Shi Zhen. Tianming appeared again and said, if the young man could defeat his deputy, then he could definitely expect no mercy now. And the elder said that he would destroy the young man without regrets. Everyone saw that Shi Zhen was standing on his feet again. He seemed to be completely unharmed. Tianming shouted that this was a breakthrough. Shishan added that this young man had withstood a very strong attack. Suddenly, a storm broke out in the sky. Huge clouds appeared. A golden bell appeared from behind the clouds. At the Prince Zhu mansion, Zhu Baichen said, he didn't expect anything less from the Xuantian sect. Master Tianming said that this young man's breathing is labored, and his body is badly injured as well. He doesn't think the young man will be able to withstand the breakthrough to the next realm. Master Tianming thought that he should first destroy this guy before dealing with Wang Shishan. In the sky below the bell, a huge balloon appeared in the sky. And now, everyone could see who had made the breakthrough. Master Tianming thought that the bell had struck 10 times. How was this possible? Could it be that this guy was able to start a breakthrough at the 10th level? The elder hermit dwelling in the cave thought, is someone trying to make a breakthrough from only the 10th level? How many years had it been since he had seen such a thing? The elder wondered what kind of genius could do such a thing. Zhou Changsui thought that he and Master Zhou were holding back Xiao Xizhen's cultivation to allow him to reach the ideal 12th level. But if his breakthrough had already begun, there was no turning back. Master Tianming said he didn't know how the young man was able to start the transition to another realm from the 10th level. But from the looks of it, this young man might be about to die. A powerful beam of light pierced through the clouds and struck the rocks. There was a huge explosion and a hole appeared in the rocks. The elder said as he suspected, this young man was most likely dead. Tianming said that now it was the young man's turn and rushed towards Zhu Changsui. Zhou Changsui thought, Shi Zhen found the time to make a breakthrough. They wanted to escape from this place together. The young man said there was no turning back. It is very pleasant to feel how much his strength has increased. The young man thought that in any case, he wouldn't have to endure the master's bullying now. Thanks to this breakthrough, he would be able to study in peace. Angry old man? Master Tianming asked. Would they really continue to flutter their tongues like this? The Xiao Shizhen, who had greatly increased his strength, struck Tianming in the chest, and the man flew far back. Zhou Changsui said, since his friend was able to successfully complete a breakthrough from the 10th level of the primordial existence realm, His strength now reached around the middle of the heavenly mystery realm. The young man thought that this old man was half a step away from the true spirit realm. If he wasn't injured, and he wasn't overwhelmed by the breakthrough strength, there would be no chance of fighting with the old man. He couldn't understand how such a thing was possible. Breaking through to the realm of heavenly mysteries from only the 10th level. He thought that such a thing was only possible in legends. Shi Zhen asked, if they were still too weak to fight this elder, then what would they do? Zhou Changsui replied that it was his turn. He doesn't see any other way. The storm over the mountains continued. The clouds became even blacker. A new glowing sphere appeared in the air. Did the young man also decide to try to make a breakthrough? The elder couldn't understand who these young men were. Shi Zhen replied that they were just disciples of the Zhuantian sect. The man counted the 10 strikes of the bell again. He thought they were being bullied. After all, these must be no ordinary students. Who are they really? Tianming said that the opponent had better rather confess, or he would destroy them all. The man heard the 11th strike. He shouted, no matter how many levels his opponent reached, he would not let him survive the breakthrough ceremony. The elder activated the eye of the celestial turtle and said that the young man was about to die. The opponent used an 8th form scaly shield and repelled the old man's attack. The people on the ground heard the 12th beat. They could not understand what was really happening. How could such a thing be possible? None of them had ever heard of such a thing before. Everyone was guessing who was going to make the breakthrough this time, especially after the 12 strikes of the bell. Tong Chai thought it was the peak of the heavenly mystery realm. Who could it be? The young man stated that he luckily barely made it in time. The young man added that the rest is left to his friend. Elder Tianming also guessed that this was the peak of the heavenly mystery realm. This is an unprecedented event. An ancient elder rose up from the crypt and said that he was ready to surprise the Zhuantian sect. Zhou Changsui said that he had now reached the realm of heavenly mysteries. And there was not much left to reach the realm of true spirit. Zhou Changsui approached Master Tianming and hit him hard in the face with his fist. Tianming flew far back and fell to the ground, forming a pit. The young man said that his opponent had fallen very low. Why is he attacking people while they are going through the breakthrough ceremony? Zhou Changsui found Tianming lying down and pulled him out of the ground. He asked the young man if he had already finished the ceremony. Zhou Changsui said that they were both now at the same level of the heavenly mystery realm. Shi Zhen said that his interlocutor was crazy, bringing him here against his will, and now these blows that almost took his life. Zhou Changsui wondered, how dare Shi Zhen be angry with him? After all, he was the one who had helped to make the breakthrough. Normally, if one realm's cultivation falls short of perfection, it is almost impossible to successfully complete a breakthrough ceremony. Shi Zhen stated, be that as it may, he has become much stronger. And now, no one would dare to tear him away from his books. Zhou Changsui said, to the best of his knowledge, in order to break through to the true spirit realm, one must have the perfect level of the past realm before breaking through. The young men went in different directions. Shi Zhen said that he just wanted to read books. He hoped to be left alone. Zhou Changsui noticed that Elder Tianming was coming to his senses and said that it was dangerous for them to stay here. The young man grabbed Shi Zhen by the scruff of his neck and said that they should leave this place immediately. The black-cloaked young man said that this young man was able to reach the ideal in the realm of primordial existence. Zhou Changsui recognized him. It was Qiu Wen. Qiu Wen thought that this young man was being very brazen. Zhou Changsui thought that Qiu Wen was very fast. The young men bypassed the passage through the rocks and ran towards the forest. Already in the forest, they decided to take a break. The young man met Tun Chai. She asked if the young man had attained the ideal in the realm of primordial existence. The young man saw this girl sitting in the depths of the cave on a throne. The young man thought it was the power of the true spirit realm. Zhou Changsui bowed and said that he was thankful for the master's help. The girl walked over to the young man and tried to heal his body. The young man flinched in surprise. The girl said that only those with the 7 seals are able to pierce the heavens and create their own worlds. And the young man has a great talent. From today, he will be her apprentice. And asked if he agrees? Zhou Changsui replied that he didn't agree. The guy said that Tong Chai was only a step away from the ideal of the heavenly mystery realm and the realm of primordial existence. but she had already made a breakthrough into the true spirit realm. Because of this, there are only 3 seals on her body, so she won't be able to create worlds. The young man added that he could help the girl reach the ideal of the past realms. The interlocutor was surprised and asked how. Xizhen tried to see something on his body. Jiu Changsui, with an apple in his hand, asked, "What does the interlocutor want to see there?" After all, he only had 1 seal, but even one was unrealistically difficult to obtain. After all, he was told not to rush into a breakthrough. Now he could blame himself. Xizhen said that he was just curious to see. And who says he's not happy? He doesn't care how many of these seals there are. Xizhen said that when he could get out of here, he would definitely find a secluded place where no one would ever find him. And he could read whatever he wanted to read in peace. The young man added that he will definitely be able to get a grant soon and will work hard for the good of his homeland. The young lady once again decided to check for a seal on her body. Jiu Changsui looked at her seals and said, "The way of the heavens is connected to the way of the earth. There are 5 elements in this world." The young man said that only after passing the 3rd level, they were able to transform the QE energy into a new seal and gain the ability to create their worlds. The girl told him to continue. Jiu Changsui said, since the 2 of them had both made a breakthrough after the perfect level at the previous realm, they had obtained the seal. The young man added that other ordinary cultivators were unable to see the strength level. The girl's breathing is soft and full of energy, but the flow of qi is unstable and hard to balance. It's all because she lacks 2 more seals. The young man added that she lacked the seals of fire and earth. The girl asked how she could get them. The guy replied that you have to find a source of energy. Each of the 5 elements originated in its own personal energy source, but finding it is extremely difficult. The young man added that the springs exist between heaven and earth. No one is able to seize them. As long as this world continues to exist, the sources of energy will always be somewhere in it. There is always hope of finding them. The girl said that the boy was right. As long as she is in this world, it is possible to find energy sources. The young master walked into this room. He said there was expectedly no one here. The elders noted that there was no one left. Apparently, they had all fled by now. One of the elders remarked that as long as the mountain barrier held, not even a fly could fly through it. The newly arrived elder said to summon everyone immediately. Even if they had to turn the entire sect upside down, they must find all the escapees. The girl was resting in the shade. She had no idea what had happened to Brother Xishan, but they had left the cave without leaving any word. What if he couldn't find them? Master Zhou told Qingming to relax at least for a little while. He's not even worried about his disciple. Brother Xishan is smart enough and nothing will happen to him. The elder added, instead of sitting here, she could find a place and meditate. Master Zhou added that the girl looked very weak. She should train more to avoid becoming a burden. The man said that he had recovered his strength already, so he would go look for the young men. Master Zhou noticed that he had prepared a bath of healing herbs inside the house. If the girl wants to not be a burden, she should accept it. Strishan Zhou said that Chuang Tianming must have died a long time ago, and his spiritual art school is free. Master Zhou said he wondered how he would feel if someone stole his precious card. Jiu Changsui spent the night in the cave. In the morning, he woke up and stretched. The young man said, once he got a good night's sleep, he felt his strength had increased significantly. How tangible is the difference between the realm of primordial existence and the realm of heavenly mysteries? Xiao Xizhen continued to sleep, lying nearby. The young man woke him up by pushing him with his feet. Jiu Changsui said that when they were done with their business, Xizhen could go anywhere. Right now, they have a lot of people to save. Xizhen asked if his friend still wanted to save someone. He said that yesterday was just a warm-up. Today would be the real battle. Xizhen said that in that case, it would be better to do it without him. Jiu Changsui said that in that case, when he saw his master, he would definitely say that the young man needed more training. Xizhen said in that case, he's going with his friend. Tun Chai came up and asked if they were awake. The young man replied that he was ready to go and save people. The girl asked why the young man was asking her to save people. After all, she doesn't care. Jiu Changsui asked, did she not care about him too? What about their relationship? The girl said, what's a young man got to do with it? I mean, she meant everyone else. If he tries to flirt with her again, she'll kill him. Zhu Changshui asked, "Didn't she say she wanted to become his master?" The girl said, "In that case, he should fall at her feet and bow 3 times." The girl said he should fall at her feet and bow 3 times. The young man defiantly took a cup of tea from the table and drank it himself. Xi Zhen thought that this was very uncool and could end badly. The girl said he was a rascal. The mistress of the cave declared for both of them to get the hell out of here immediately if they still cared about life. Zhou Changshui returned and kissed the girl on the lips. After that, he turned around and ran after his buddy. The girl called him a jerk. The young men walked through the forest. Xi Zhen asked, "So is this the forest behind the Xuantian Sex Mountain?" "That forbidden place." Zhou Changshui continued walking in silence. Xi Zhen asked, "What did his interlocutor want to find here?" Zhou Changshui told Xi Zhen to wait for him here. He was interested in where the strange fog came from. The young man said, "Now I can see why no one comes here." Xi Zhen drew animal figures in the sand while waiting for his friend. He also didn't understand where this strange fog had come from. Zhou Changshui suggested that Xi Zhen go inside and check what was there. The young man agreed. He said he would be back soon. The young man thought that there were no trees or rocks in the fog. It seems that this forbidden land was originally a kind of magical weapon. Getting into it is quite difficult. The sect never ceased to amaze the young man. Zhou Changshui waited for his friend for a long time, but he never showed up. The young man decided that he should go look for him. The young man thought that this was not the place he had been before, and there was no sign of Xi Zhen at all. The young man stepped into the mist and looked around. He found the arrangement here very striking. The mist inside seemed very strange to the young man. Not only was it able to dispel consciousness, but it moved without any rules. The young man thought he was looking for a needle in a haystack. The young man noticed that it became harder to breathe. An astrolabe map appeared in front of Zhu Changshui. The young man logically thought that this map was an astrolabe map. This map consists of 36,000 star patterns that are carefully connected to each other. The distance between each star pattern is at least 10 feet, and the distance between them remains the same when they move. The young man thought that if he couldn't find the eye of the formation, he would be trapped here. The guy thought he was guilty of exploring this fog for no reason. Plus, his friend is trapped in it too. The map of the astrolabe, an immortal magical treasure. It contains 36,000 formations. These formations can have different effects. Ordinary magical treasures are divided into earthly and heavenly treasures. An inner sect disciple is very proud to have an earth-level magic treasure, let alone a heavenly-level one. Xuantian Academy regards this place as a forbidden place. They must not know about the map, and it seems that this magic treasure does not belong to the Academy. Zhou Changshui decided that he was wrong in his analysis earlier. It's not 2 parallel overlapping formations and this map, just a door to the back of the mountain. The young man wondered what exactly was hidden in the back of the mountain, that there must be a spiritual magic treasure hidden there. The young man also thought, how did Tung Chai know the way to the back of the mountain? The young man sat down on a rock. He thought that even if it wasn't a big secret, what good was it if he couldn't get out of this astrolabe map? The young man was surprised. How could he, an immortal world cultivator, be trapped by a small magical treasure? The young man realized that he had to find the eye of the formation. Xi Zhen was lost in the fog. He didn't understand what was happening to him. What was this place? The young man realized that he was trapped. He was angry with Zhu Changshui. Why had he only believed him? Xi Zhen calmed down and decided, it's a good thing he can't get out of here. He doesn't have to risk his life to save people, and he can read his books here. Xi Zhen thought, just so long as this Zhu Changshui doesn't come here, there's no need to save him. He can safely stay here for a while. Zhou Changshui ran like crazy through the forest and counted. The young man stopped exhausted near a rock and leaned on it. He decided that he had found the eye of the formation after all. Looking at this eye formation, the guy thought that it was an unnecessary spirit magic treasure. The previous owner must have died, otherwise he would have taken it with him. If this treasure really didn't have a home right now, then he would be its master. He would become the only cultivator with the 7 seals here. Xi Zhen continued to read his books. He was even surprised to find the word gold in one book. Suddenly, someone jabbed him from behind. It turned out to be Zhu Changsui. He asked if Shizhen missed him. Shizhen reprimanded himself. He said that he had wandered here for a very long time and was hungry. He almost died of exhaustion. Zhu Changsui said he feels that Shizhen is comfortable here. Shizhen said that he is just passing the time. Actually, it's time for them to save people. The young men noticed that the fog had abruptly disappeared. Where could it have gone? Shizhen said that they should go quickly to save people, so that they could return home by evening. The elder thought, something is wrong with the inner sect. There are 2 youths who have made a breakthrough to the first level of the heavenly mystery realm. The elder said, he's sure everyone has heard about the mishap that happened last night. The elder said, although all the other sect masters have been captured by them except for one, the other famous masters are also traveling outside the city. With the barrier in the way, he is sure that even if the masters decide to return, there is nothing they can do. Another elder said that there are still a few Taoist sect masters. They're still here. The man added that there were also 2 young men who had made a breakthrough into the realm of heavenly mysteries. We should be careful with these young men. Another elder said that although these 2 youths were in the heavenly mystery realm, they were only young men and didn't pose much of a threat. The next master asked, would anyone really let these young men who had made a breakthrough escape? He was told that the man in white had saved those 2, and his level of development was much higher than that of the people here. The elder said that one of them was already at the top of the heavenly mystery realm, and his level of development is even higher than some of the people present. Elder An, a master of the Taoist sect, predicted that there would be a disaster in the academy. But there was one factor they couldn't understand. The ancient old man replied, even so what? After all, there are a lot of them here too. So there is nothing to be afraid of. The old man added, he's not going to act like a frightened animal. He's coming back to practice his poison. If his help is needed, he is ready to give it. The young men thought that this old man was not talking to them well. One of them added that if you want to talk about rats, there are really 2 of them. Zhou Changsui and Shizhen had been in the habit of overhearing the conversation and were deciding what they should do now. A plan had to be devised. Young stated that he had 2 plans and was willing to share with a friend. The dungeon where Elder Ran was imprisoned in a prison made of black magic stone can be entered through a single entrance. Therefore, the technique of disappearing underground would definitely not work. There should also be many guards inside. They should warn Huang Tianlin of their arrival. So, it would be difficult to get inside. Shizhen said he doesn't think his interlocutor wants to talk about these 2 options. Apparently, he must have some other plan. The young men moved to the roof. Zhu Changsui said, there must be a reason when something goes wrong. He assumes they've already been discovered. Now, they have to get out of here. There were still no serious ideas. Zhu Changsui said to his friend, a scholar, after all, he reads a lot of books. He must surely have some solution. Zhou Changsui took out the human figurines from behind his back and licked one. He offered to do the same with the other one to his friend. Shizhen didn't want to do it. Then Zhu Changshui leaned this figure against the young man's face and helped him do it. After that, the young man threw the figures off the roof and they flew down. Zhu Changshui recited an incantation. After that, the figures smoothly descended to the ground and transformed into their masters. Zhu Changsui and Shizhen found themselves on the ground. This was a well-tested method of moving with spells. Shizhen was surprised, after all. This was a low-grade spell. Could it really be used to fool the opponents? Zhou Changsui drew his comrade's attention to the fact that there was a thunderous formation in the courtyard. They must not act recklessly. Suddenly, an elder appeared from above them and said that these young men had played enough, and now they could go inside. Another elder with an axe on his shoulder appeared in front of the young men. He asked, "Are these really the young men?" The young men realized they had been ambushed. The ring was shrinking. Around them were the elders. The axe-wielding elder said they needed 4 men to surround these young men. His colleague added that these youths should not be underestimated. They had advanced into the realm of heavenly mysteries, and both had made a breakthrough to the primordial existence. Someone said these 2 are very strange, and they don't have time to waste on these young people. Maybe they should just destroy them. Zhou Changsui was telling his associate how they were about to proceed, and paid attention to where the people around them were. Shizhen was upset. He said that old men were surrounding them. Aren't they ashamed of themselves? The girl with the weapon in her hands shouted for the young man not to be so arrogant and rushed straight towards them. Shizhen used his crowning blow, and the active elder, who had taken the initiative, was thrown far back. The man with the axe on his shoulder said it was a disgrace and offered to remedy the situation. He said he would do it himself now. Zhu Changsui said that he had seen this elder's abilities, and they would run away if he tried to attack them. The axe-wielding elder said that this was the perfect moment to show his skills to everyone. He decided to attack the young men after all. Suddenly, two girls appeared above the roof of a neighboring house in the sphere. Their appearance was strange. Shizhen asked his friend how he knew someone would help them. Zhu Changshui replied that he didn't mean those girls. Elder Zhou also happened to be on the roof. He said he was just trying to put on a show, but he didn't have time for that right now. The young people thought, finally, he has come. Zhou Changsui thought that when he first met this person, Nian Qing, he was only at the 7th level. However, right now, he was already at the 9th level. Zhou Changsui thought that the last time he saw this girl was at a wedding. It looked like she had gone through a great adventure to make such progress in a short time. One of the elders stated that, in that case, they wouldn't have to go through all the trouble to find them. The axe-wielding elder said he would wait for his colleague inside. Elder Zhou asked his dear disciple, who allowed him to make an early breakthrough. Zhou Changsui told the elder not to blame his disciple. If he hadn't made the breakthrough, they both might be dead right now. Elder Zhou said that he would settle the score with him. Zhou Changsui added that he could help with that, if he can get out of here alive. The girl told Zhu Changshui to remember to find her. The young people separated. Shizhen asked, did his interlocutor really know this woman? Zhou Changsui replied that the young man would not be able to understand his family's private affairs. The young men decided to waste no time and went inside. Zhu Changsui asked where did the others go? Shizhen replied that the dean's house is a spiritual treasure, just like the heavenly tower. It has many spatial dimensions. Elder Zhou said that this place was originally used for testing and selecting masters of the Taoist sect. And he didn't expect to enter this place a second time. He thinks that there are several other sect masters imprisoned here. They can say that this mission is to save the masters, and also to save Xuantian Academy. The elder asked again if the young men had thought it over carefully enough before entering. Zhou Changsui thought that he just wanted to help Qingling, to save his teacher. Shizhen thought he just wanted to read. The elder said that in that case, they enter first. Zhou Changsui found himself at the edge of a huge and deep well. The elder said he didn't know what the young man's problem was, but he couldn't blame him for wanting to die. The elder ordered the formation to be opened. The young man thought that this thing was very difficult to control. This place was the best area for a master of the Taoist sect. It contained many formations. There was no specific formation of different levels of difficulty here. The elder said that this formation must be revealed within 1 hour. Otherwise, he would push his opponents into the abyss behind him. Although it is not fatal, but as a punishment, he will experience severe mental anguish. Zhou Changsui thought, what was the difference between capturing and suppressing his mind? The young man replied, in that case, why shouldn't he live another hour? Zhou Changsui noticed that the light shield was actually getting bigger. He couldn't constantly stand still and do nothing. The young man swung around and struck the light shield. After the impact, there was an instant light shield reaction, and the young man flew off in the opposite direction. The young man said as expected, this shield cannot be broken by brute force alone. Zhou Changsui did not calm down and said that he would try another method. The young man jumped high up. It seemed to the young man that there was a spiritual pressure in this space. This position was already at its limit. The young man inside the cylinder asked the elder if the old man could give him a clue. Why is he silent even when asked by the master of the Taoist sect? Something seemed strange to the young man. He thought he should try to look at it again. The boy lowered himself down to the bottom of the stone well and saw an elder inside the light cylinder. The young man thought he was facing a turtle shield formation. Turtle shield, it's a very powerful defense form. The larger it is, the more powerful it is. The peculiarity of this formation is that the light shield is increased and strengthened. The young man attempted a low blow, just to test it. The blow seemed to reverberate, but he didn't notice it. The young man said he knows the formation, so there should be no problem. The elder asked if the young man knew about this formation. Even though the formation is very strong, it has quite a few disadvantages. Therefore, it is not so high level. Zhou Changsui added that such terrain elevates these flaws to the absolute. The elder said less words and more deeds. If he's so sure of himself, let him try to destroy it. Zhou Changsui stated that, in that case, one finger would be enough for him. The young man raised his finger forward and moved closer to this formation. He knew what he was going to do. The elder wondered, how did the young man know about this formation? Even though the turtle shield was not a high-level formation, it was one of the most complex formations. Zhou Changsui added that, in that case, it was also a broken formation. Could it be that he had purchased it at a sale? The young man wagged his finger and said he had everything ready. The elder asked what he had conjured up. Zhou Changsui remarked meaningfully that for every formation, there was a way to destroy it. The turtle shield, despite its incomparable strength, is vulnerable until it opens fully. So, in the hour allotted to him, the formation should be fully open and push him off the platform. The elder wondered how the young man knew so much. The boy reminded him that any formation could be destroyed. The young man said he had just created a dissipation spell and asked the elder how much longer this defective shield could last. The man thought it couldn't be. After all, this is the Dean's testing ground. Only a Taoist of the Heavenly Mystery Realm level could destroy the formation. The elder said, "Does the young man really dream of destroying the turtle shield formation? He won't be able to do that. He'd better give up nicely." The young man said that the final touch was left. He made a few manipulations with his hands, and it was done. The young man approached the elder and said that now there was no formation of this old man. The elder cried out that this was only the beginning. After all, the young man, just a level of the original being. He would now show the chasm between them. The young man was tired of this pointless talk. The young man swung around and delivered a right hook. The man was deactivated. Zhou Changsui watched the spirit leave the frail body of this restless old man. The young man said that he reeked of weakness. A disciple approached the elder seated on the summit. The elder asked how this disciple was doing. The young man asked, did the elder really want to fight him? If so, let him come down and show what he can do. The elder said he didn't expect his unsophisticated apprentice to be so impatient. Zhou Changsui noticed that the elder had asked for it himself. So he decided to open the formation. People began to appear from the portal. The young man thought that he was seeing double. The elder said, enough idle chatter. If the young man wanted to fight him, he must first defeat the one standing in front of him. In front of him stood a man like his twin brother. The young man immediately threw back the man who came out of the portal. The opponent flew far back. Another clone just like it emerged from the portal. How many of them are there? The young man thought. The young man tried the same thing. The result was the same. He thought it was starting to piss him off. The young man thought that his exhaustion was only a matter of time. But it seemed that the real Liu Tianping couldn't be reached otherwise. Shi Zhen attacked another clone. He had to get close to Liu Tianping at all costs, before another doppelganger appeared. The young man realized that he had to defeat him. The young man deactivated another clone and, pushing off, flew toward his opponent in a strong jump. The opponent thought, did this unintelligent young man really think he would let him pass so easily? The young man found himself next to his rival on the tower and said that was exactly what he thought. It happened again. For Shi Zhen, it was the 98th time. The young man didn't give up hope. The elder said he didn't think the apprentice could handle more than a few doubles. He'd better give up, because it's getting boring. The young man noticed that with each new exit from the portal, the doppelgangers grew stronger. The strength of the real Liu Tianping, this is the 6th level of the Heavenly Mystery Realm. But these doppelgangers are only at the 1st level. The guy thought that he wasn't the only one who was exhausted. The young man used different techniques, Raging Blade, Starfall. The opponent repelled all attacks. Shi Zhen thought that the portal was also protected by spiritual energy. Perhaps he is defeating the real Liu Tianping. Either he is being exhausted by these clones. Shi Zhen became upset. After all, he's just a student. Why is he being harassed like this? Is there any justice in this world? The young man applied the Heavenly Wind Seal. Disclosure. After that, there was a bastion. The opponent withstood everything. He said he didn't think the young man would be able to get this far. The elder added, he must admit that the young man was worthy of his attention. Xizhen declared for this master to get the hell out of here. If he wanted to finish him off, he should do it with his own hands, not with the help of the poor clones. Tian Ping said, this young man had better shut his mouth. And for the first time, he decided to attack him. Xizhen asked after attacking his opponent, did he know what his main weakness was? Xizhen replied, his opponent was too arrogant. The young man used an attack, the Heavenly Wind Seal. The young man said he understood everything, creating doppelgangers. His opponent was trying to learn his technique. Xizhen looked at the lying doppelgangers and said that all those 100 times, those clones used the same technique. Because of this, he was able to adopt this technique. Tian Ping was surprised by the information the young man had just given him. Xizhen repeated, as he had said before, his opponent was arrogant. If he didn't interfere, his doppelganger would be able to figure it out on his own. Xizhen added, did his opponent really think that he had won? The young man looked around and couldn't understand what was going on. Where had everything gone? Where was he now? Suddenly, the young man found himself in a different place, in some kind of room. In front of him stood an elder. It was the deputy sect head, Xiao Tianyi. Zhou Chengsui found himself in a formation of broken pulses. The elder grabbed him by the throat and lifted him above the ground. The young man, coughing, asked, was this really all he could do? In the Crimson Mist formation, Elder Zhou continued his fight. He fought with an elder who wielded an axe. His opponent said that he wouldn't run far. There was a battle in the Bloodwater formation as well. The elder was ravaging his opponents who were in the area with his bows. One of the leaders said that even using formations, these wimps can't handle a few pesky rats. Why are they such useless trash? The old man announced that someone had snuck into the Peach Blossom formation. It wasn't authorized. In the Peach Blossom formation, Tong Chai was discovered and was freed from the dungeon by Zhu Chengsui. The old man appeared in this formation and asked who she was. How did she come to be here? He added, does she seek death if she has disturbed his gardens? The girl used her energy weapon against the old man. It was enough. The opponent wondered if the old man was so infirm that he couldn't withstand even a single blow. The elder shouted that he was about to tear his opponent apart. How could he dare to mess with him? The young man threw a few punches, and the elder fell on his back, spreading his arms and legs apart. The young man said, he didn't think the sect disciple was so weak. This is a total disappointment. The elder did not give up. He struggled to his feet and activated his spiritual powers. He summoned his energy beast. It was a huge predator with glowing eyes. Zhou Chengsui immediately determined that the 3-star spiritual beast in front of him. It was a 2-headed black wolf. The young man was not afraid of it. The young man thought, although its cultivation level is equivalent to Tianxuan's, but unlike him, this beast is quite fast and has an impenetrable hide, the elder said. Now he was curious to see what this boy could do. The boy once again gave the elder a staggering punch to the jaw. The man flew upwards and fell to the ground. The young man asked, is this really it? The conspirators watching the events from inside through the screen had a chance to see Tun Chai deactivate the bald elder. The events took place in the garden. The girl looked directly into the elder's eyes through the screen and said that she could see Elder Kuya. Was it the young lady who asked why the elder didn't greet her? The elders remaining in the room realized that things had not gone according to plan. All their grandiose calculations were falling apart. The elder said, if Huang Tianling let her favorite disciple go, she would keep him alive. Tianling said that first. We should let his deputy go. Otherwise, he will strangle that girl. The elder was kneeling beside the defeated 2-headed wolf. He tearfully begged Zhu Chengsui to have mercy on him. Zhou Chengsui said, if the opponent wanted to live, he should immediately remove the formation. Because it is necessary to save those people. The elder became even more frightened and said that he would fulfill everything. In the confined space in front of the huge screen, the opposing pairs were becoming more and more numerous. Who would win? The young man shouted with furious eyes for the elder to immediately remove his vile hands from his beloved. The elders could not understand how this young man had gotten here. And how did he get out of there? Another elder appeared from the portal. The man carried Tianming and Xizhen with him. Both of them were senseless. Zhou Changsui was even more outraged. He shouted for that old man to take his hands off his brother. Tong Chai turned to Elder Chu. After spending so much time as an obedient dog, he was really used to something like this. Isn't he? The man noticed that the one dubbed the Pride of Heaven had fallen into their trap. The girl took out her sword and said that if there wasn't this secret plot, he would have rotted deep in the ground long ago. The girl remembered the not-too-distant time when she was not alone in the steppe. She rushed to follow the departing old man and shouted for her father to wait for her. The man through the veil asked, "Wasn't Mrs. Tun happy to see her father again?" Miss Tong said, "How dare Chu-Wen do such a thing?" The girl was extremely angry. Chu-Wen said he did not expect that she could succumb to the surging emotion so much. The man added, if her mentor were still alive, he'd be awfully glad of it, and laughed.
How terribly wrong the teacher was and didn't try to address the root of the problem.
Kyo-Wen said that old man Huang Tianming is a real pain in the ass. After all, he saved the girl thanks to her father's techniques. The Zhuantang sect is not what it was under her family's rule. It's many times stronger than before. Isn't she happy about that? Kyo-Wen moved closer to Miss Tong and asked if she regretted giving up double cultivation with him. The girl was tired of unnecessary conversations and raised her sword high up and used the shards of the stained glass window.